There we go.
Nice.
That was limp.
Kitchen sink.
Yeah, who cares? Okay.
Cool.
And we'll do one more at
okay.
the end, just for...
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Neurotypeline, a retrospective podcast discussing the intricacies, interpretations, and extrapolations of neurotyping. All the while we will be attempting to definitively answer the question of what happens when a community of internet hermits is given an incredibly vague system of character typology and decides to roll with it. As we explore this hotbed of heterodoxy, we will stumble across various schools of thought and chains of influence to be compared and contrasted, hopefully giving you a deeper appreciation for the sublimely open-ended question, how think? Neurotyping is of course a personality matrix derived by YouTuber, writer, and musician Digine. Since the original videos on the topic are already fairly accessible, we will not rehash their contents here. They are, however, linked in the video description, so we advise you to watch them first if you have not already. But that's enough of a preamble. Allow me to introduce my wonderful co-hosts. Tarbak, who are you and why are you here?
Hi, I'm fast-talking craftsman and indestructible super god Tarbak Transom. I am really into neurotyping, and I have a lot of audio experience, so I feel like I have a lot to contribute to a podcast of this nature.
What's your neurotype?
I am split-typed. I am in the top left quadrant of Overseer, and I spend a healthy amount of time in Quick-Witted.
Okay. Urcoy.
Yo, I'm Urcoy. I am somewhere in the bottom left of new type, maybe. I don't know. I think about it a lot and I get confused. But yeah, I think neurotyping is pretty cool also. So here we are.
Torgi.
Yeah, hi, I'm Torgi. I'm a human calculator. If you're looking for autistic math nerd, then stereotype for human calculator, then that's probably me. Yeah, so I've not actually been from the beginning here. I've been to neurotyping since the original video, but only found like Discord like way later, and happy to actually have a community here.
Cool. And I'm Ouroborista. I'm pretty solidly an aesthetician. I wrote some shit about neurotyping and also have a long history of caring too much about Digine, since I wrote her out in a dating someone's and other stuff. So, these are your hosts. Let's discuss neurotyping from the start. That is the creation of the Reddit, where you should never go at any cost.
No, don't go there. But we're doing that, so you don't have to.
Reddit has served a good purpose for me, which is collecting graphs or other charts that you can use to explain to more lexical people what neurotyping is.
Yeah, graphs are pretty cool.
And speaking of explaining what neurotyping is, very first theory post on the Reddit, lexical or impressionistic. I think I need more clarification on what these terms mean.
Oh boy.
It begins.
I alluded to it in the introduction. Digi did not do a good job of explaining any of this, so that's why this is interesting. It's incredibly vague. Everyone very quickly came up with their own systems. And here's one of the first things where people all disagree in the comments of the post of what is lexical and impressionist.
As to be expected.
One of the good points about the structure of not doing the original video and covering the original video is partly because we just assume that you've watched it already as homework, but mostly because like it's kind of a jumping off point for the community building of this idea anyway. Like mostly this idea now belongs to people like you and me who heard about it and then expanded on it and have been reconciling our ideas with other ideas out there, and like all the vibes are vibing together. It's a good old time.
Yeah, it's the democratizing function of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you own this? No, you don't.
Ownership is an outdated myth.
It is.
Abolish intellectual property. So right off the bat, I want to point out like that there's a disagreement to be had about whether the chart itself and the explanation of it is a lexical thing or an impressionistic thing.
Yes.
Like, obviously it's somewhere in the middle, but which way does it lean? You know, like you have a lot of highly lexical people being like, I don't get it. It's not specific enough. And a lot of highly impressionistic people being like too much chart.
I think there's something for everyone. I think there are words that you can look at and be like, yeah, that means a thing, and there are nice colors. So yeah, pick
I
whatever.
like the colors.
Yeah, I suggest it's actually like second column, so like analysts are quick with it. I mean, mainly because like, I don't know, Digi created it, and he's like, analyst. I think he would come up with this idea.
Right, but I do think that Digi spends a lot of time just thinking about, okay, how is something perceived by an audience? So she obviously had this idea, but a lot of how she portrays it and conveys it and the symbols and charts she uses to explain it would be more tainted by what she think other people would need to get it than what she meant when she envisioned it.
I actually kind of disagree with you there, because I think she did a good enough job of explaining it for me to be like, oh, so you typed yourself wrong. You're actually a fascinator. And then like months later when she comes out, surprise, I'm also a fascinator. And I'm like, fucking call
Nah, I knew it.
It's really weird how Digi has spent years describing herself as a translator, and then people are confused when she comes out as translator.
Excellent.
Okay. But the actual, I don't think that an actual chart can be either lexical or impressionist. I think lexical and impressionist people will just have a different mode of interacting with it.
I mean, you have a lot of ways to
I don't
represent
think
these things.
objects can be lexical or topics can be lexical or impressionist. That's just
Agree.
a way of interacting with the world.
Yeah, sure, but it's even done in a word where it's actually done by humans who are in these types. So the thing is, you have a lot of ways to represent it, and I think this type, you can kind of say, yeah, it is analyst, it is contemplative, or whatever. You can actually say that because there's so many ways you can do it. You can actually like it's actually like almost well defined, but only almost.
Like it's another form of communication in the same way that language is a form of communication, and so you can make it better appeal to lexical people or better appeal to impressionistic people. Like getting the idea across. Like I'll point it out when it comes up in a much later episode, but there's a chart that really solidified for me where I stand on myself, just like confirming my initial impression that other people were thinking the same thing I was.
Urcoy, you wanted to say something?
Oh, yeah. I guess if anything, it would be like sort of an impressionistic slant a little bit. One thing I sort of picked up on is like, it seems like more lexical linear people generally just look at it and it's like, yeah, that's cool, I guess, but like, I don't know what to do with this. It seems fine. And then more impressionistic or more nerdy, perhaps, people like, I need this in my life.
So you think they won't start a Discord about it and make a community about it like us, like the other people?
That's probably a good thing to bring up. For anyone who's just listening knows only about the videos, the important places where discussion on this happen is, first of all, the Reddit and then the Neurotyping Discord. The two have a lot of crossover, and we will see that already in this episode.
Although there are some like important ideas that didn't get a lot of traction because they happened in like outside of those spaces.
Yeah, sadly we didn't have them recorded that much, or like have that ordered. So we actually tried to do this within this podcast to actually bring this into like one space where all the information is like put out.
Mm-hmm. We will try to gather as much as possible, put it into a chronological timeline, and just so we can see how all of this evolved and spiraled out of control, to see the chaos we wrought, and the whole we dug ourselves.
Actually, I'm not even sure of myself how it spiraled out. I really want to see the finished product of like 20 or 30 podcasts and like see, oh my god, what did we get into?
There's a lot of discussion too that happened like just in like voice chats. But like then it just got like all the stuff is just stored in individuals' brains and it's like not out there. It's like, oh wait, we have to like gather this stuff because there's like people coming in and then like, so is this right? And then we already have our like complicated ideas.
Yeah, we gotta just like regular history, you know, if you don't write it down, it's inaccessible to anybody who wasn't participating.
Exactly.
So
If you don't write it down, someone else will do it for you, and they won't portray you in the best light, so do it first. But in the comments of this post, like the Lexical versus Impressionistic, you have a lot of people first really laying down, which Digi didn't do as much, this dichotomy of, okay, there's a way the world is, which is more what the impressions are, like what exists out there. And then lexicalizing is kind of a digestive process of breaking it down into symbols and things that you could more easily interact with, rather than taking this whole thing on its surface value, right?
Yeah, or like tagging things and like connecting them into a system.
Yeah, like Digi said with Lexium, like this is a tree and also all of these things. This object is a confluence of these more easily understandable symbols.
yeah, and representing things in symbols is like the key idea here. It's not just literally words or just literally rules. There's like any representational thinking where I guess if something has a like literal denotative meaning and you're pretty strict on what that is, then you're probably a lexical person. I have been thinking that there's a connection between being lexical and being very literal. Although not everybody who's very lexical is like that. There's a tendency to be literal.
Yeah, like as always, there are outliers, but there are definitely tendencies. And I also oftentimes make that association, which is why when I first we tried to neurotype all the PCP members for the dating sim when that was releasing, and Digi hadn't made her chart.
Oh, you did that behind the scenes before releasing the game? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, in her Discord.
We were doing that after the neurotyping video dropped.
Did it help?
And I said, okay, Devu is a human calculator.
Interesting.
Because Devu, obviously highly lateral, but incredibly literal, just will go so hard. And then Digi published her chart on the same day, and we were like, oh, okay, so this was for naught. And we were pretty close. Like, Devu was the only big outlier, where we were completely flipped on the literal impressionist axis.
Yeah, I think depending on how you learn to interact, a more impressionistic person might rely on being literal and just like trying to find as many of these things as possible to use in conversations.
Yeah, the thing that makes it messy is the distinction between what you're good at and how you actually think under the hood.
Yeah, you can learn anything and communicate in any way.
I have a longer bit about that, but we'll save that for later in the episode when it's most topical.
We'll try to more go along the post.
Also, I want to actually make a quick fun fact. Actually, me and Exi, another member of the Discord, quite active, we want to actually create a new neuro test, so where we can like test people, and so it becomes more accessible. And we had the ideas of facets. It comes later, probably in the podcast. And we had actually literality as a facet of lexicality, so we can actually test for it, not like a broad term like lexicality, just as an insider, because not a lot of people were involved in
subsets of each.
Subfacets, correct.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm interested in that. Yeah, loop me in on that.
Yeah, that comes later, not in the first episode. We have a lot of other stuff to go over.
Yeah, we will also obviously talk more about it when we get to the other tests, like the one by OK.
Yeah, with that, I guess like there could be several different signifiers for any of these axes. And for being impressionistic, it's not just one thing necessarily.
Yeah, and a lot of where your placement is, like going back to the actual post, a lot of where your placement is comes out of like how many different kinds of things you can pull out of a person through conversation.
Yeah. I think README had this idea of like doing sort of a dartboard type thing where like you're throwing as many words as you can in different spots to like get an idea of these different axes.
Yeah. Or you can do what I do, which is throw as many words as you can into one word.
Yes.
I think that's called a pun.
Yeah, I think Henrietta makes, inexact terminology, aka Henrietta, makes a very good distinction here when she says that lexical thinking isn't about thinking more carefully, which a lot of people first assume that it's more of the, well, it is kind of more analytic, but it's more, rules play into it, but it's not just about rules. It's not about making fewer mistakes or being somehow...
Right.
Some people make this assumption that, okay, lexicality is scientific and impressionism is being a weird art kid. And while those might be trends that exist, they're not definitive. They could be very careful.
Only like the special kind of people who are actually like fitting that stereotype like perfectly.
I think Devou is an example of a highly impressionistic person who's pretty careful. That's probably why he comes off the way that he does, that made you think he was top left instead of top right.
Yeah, by the way, Devou, for anyone who doesn't know, is an ex-member of the Procrastinators podcast, which is a podcast that
it's deep lore.
Also on.
Follow this rabbit hole, my boys.
This has, as I said, this is one of the first posts, and it sparked a nice little discussion among the people, because obviously this is, as any character typology is, you try to fit yourself into a context of how you believe other people to think. So it's very useful when those other people are then like, okay, but this is how I actually think, so you can update and restructure your perception of other people as a whole, and therefore your that of yourself in how you fit into it. So you have a nice
feedback loop.
Yeah, understanding of neurotyping through conversation, through figuring out what people that do not think the way you do actually think like, rather than how you think they do from how they present themselves.
Now,
because that's not always a good signifier of what's going on internally.
And I feel like I'm fairly privileged in this general area because I happen to live with an extremely lexical person and an extremely impressionistic person, and this gives a good way to sort out and like make us all like understand concretely where we are the same and where we are different, because like one of my friends and I are always accused of being like pretty similar people, even though neither of us think so. And so this is a good way to explain exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's actually a privilege. I never had a very lexical person around me. I'm the only one. So I'm actually very glad to actually meet a person who is like me. Even though that might like sound strange, but I actually want to like have sort of a recognition of myself. That's actually like it's not everything you get from a social field. Having like the corners.
Oh yeah, I've had the opposite problem where I've always been around a lot of like natural sciences people who tend to be fairly lexical. My roommate is definitely human calculator, maybe a board technician, but incredibly lexical also. And it's definitely an interesting dynamic that you can build, because that's one of the types of people that you will find if you talk enough about neurotyping, is people who kind of assume they have a completely different type based on how they've learned to interact with their surroundings, because their surroundings have a very different general type than they do. And then they're like, okay, but how do I actually think? And they come to the conclusion that, okay, no, these are more mechanisms I've adopted to deal with the outside world. This isn't my natural cognitive process.
And that's where a huge part of this lack of clarity comes from. It isn't just like not having it explained clearly in a way that you understand. It's like you have a lot of stuff internally that you have to sort through in order to place yourself correctly, even if you already understand the graph perfectly.
Yeah, and I think Digi kind of made a mistake there. I've talked about this with README recently, where Digi explicitly says that, okay, this is about, the internals is about the process, not about how you then go out and act, rather than with Myers-Briggs, where it's about results. This is about internal mechanism. And then this isn't about personality, as Digi herself said. But then she still calls bookkeepers like anal retentive types, which may be a trend that exists, but it further muddies the water that you think, okay, this is about outcomes.
Part of that was because the video is probably made like very quickly, and you know, it's in the context of anime characters.
Oh yeah, we always forget
and
that.
Characters are going to be, you know, much more caricatures as opposed to people.
Yeah, it's the same problem that you get for understanding, where people think, okay, well, maybe I fit these categories, but I'm not.
We forget very fast that it's actually made about like anime characters, not about actual humans. Yeah, we really quickly forget that.
Understanding sociopath rights.
And I didn't say, well, I didn't say it before, but I feel like now is a really good time. I think that the way that the chart is and the way it was explained combined puts it firmly in the same column that Digi herself is, which is inside right. Because you're using, like, the surface level elements are very lexical, but every piece of explanation she gives in trying to explain it is like, well, you just kind of have to get it.
Yeah, it's more of a vibe.
Yeah. And so, like, I feel like I understood it perfectly right away and was just looking for confirmation that other people understood it the same way I did.
But then once you get under the hood, it's like, oh no. Oh god.
Yeah, I think it's kind of me actually. But actually I didn't have like too hard of a time typing myself. As soon as I like heard the term human calculator, I was like, yeah, that's me. That's me, highly lexical. I had no idea about the laterality thing, so I had to actually listen in.
Mm-hmm.
But the lexicality, I understood like in
So
1
it's
second
like
what he was talking about.
The original video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hit or miss. Yeah, but it's not actually like the whole thing. It's actually just certain parts of it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I found like the lexicality thing and the leftmost column actually explained like a bit differently like the others. It can be because like I'm HC, so I'm like very into this very lexical stuff, and I like pick up on it very quickly. But yeah, okay, that's only personal.
Extremes are easier to get.
Before we move off from this post, I think we should answer the post.
Yeah, wait a second.
With lexical and impressionism, do we all vaguely agree that like lexicals tend to focus on the denotative meaning and the structure of something, and impressionists tend to focus on the connotative meaning and like the pragmatics of the thing that that's being said?
What it actually is, I think so. It's
like word voice versus tone is one of the ways that it has come up in my personal life.
Yeah. On the grand scheme of things, I'll agree with that. In some later episode, we will get into my more particular thoughts on.
I cannot wait.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Also, by the way, we had actually a real definition like written out, but I don't know where we put it. I think I actually had it and Score had it on the website or something, but I don't recall right now. Sorry.
Oh, I also wanted to note on what we did when we first watched the video. I at first didn't care at all. I watched it and I got it and was like, okay, this is fucking dumb. Because I have a visceral animosity towards typology systems. Because now you're just putting people in boxes. This is dumb. Either you're just wanting to feel special with your whole type, or it's way too simplistic. And only later did I realize, oh, okay, nobody can agree what it means. That's great, because then everyone is actually just explaining themselves and their own process rather than fitting themselves in boxes because nobody knows what the boxes are. That's what makes neurotyping interesting, is that it is badly explained.
Yeah, it's like made up of people more than...
Yeah. Because when everyone makes their own system and tries to fit it into one, that's cool. Yeah.
I can vaguely agree with the gist of the idea that people are essentially computers way at the base level, but like they're not simple computers. So a typing system like this, it's not like, to make it rigidly prescriptive and to make it perfectly encapsulate everything that it's trying to say, it would have to have like hundreds of different elements. And I know somebody who tried to do something like that, and it looks like a fucking mess. And but I think a system like this is still good and useful, because what you're describing is trends amongst people. Like whether or not it's literally true doesn't matter, because the trend is absolutely there.
I see it as like a lens, and you can like put a lot of stuff onto it and kind of experiment with that. It's pretty handy.
Yeah. I subscribed to the subreddit pretty much instantly, because I think the subreddit was announced at the end of the video, if I remember right. I haven't watched the video.
That's like why I didn't find the Discord, is because it took like a post that.
Yeah, exactly. See. I think it was in the comments even, I believe.
I almost never read the comments, unless it's like a crafting video.
I think I've never commented on there, actually. I've only read and like outsourced it, never like put anything in.
Gotcha. If it's not clear, by the way, I was really into it right away because I love typing systems, because like so many people don't get things that having something like this where you can like give people the gist in a way where they'll actually receive the gist reliably is really valuable. Like, so this is what Hogwarts houses are for. This is what the colors of magic are for, is just putting somebody in the right ballpark, because just doing that is already a huge achievement in terms of communication.
I agree, but I hate it.
All right, you're allowed.
Well, I think we're breaking the first stereotype of like the lexical people being anal.
Oh, we're going to encounter a lot of stereotypes, because there's a lot associated with each type even, and I can't even wait to spill them all out when the time's
the sad boy overseer meme. That one is rampant.
Oh yeah.
We get into this. Maybe another politics podcast, and then they can get into.
Mm-hmm. Right, Neurocode politics, very good. Oh, we won't get into the aestheticians are poets stereotype. I'll just spend the entire episode reading poetry.
Please, if you're new to the story, please ignore. It's not representative of everything.
Yeah, exactly. Not all fascinators are fascists. Only most of them.
Would you say that it's fair to call the lion's share of them fascinators?
Yes, that joke.
Okay. Maybe get back. Okay,
what's the next post?
It was the one with Mooncup with the professionals, right?
First of all, Urcoy, what's a dichotomy of separate energies? That's in the notes.
That. So after I saw the video, I was after thinking about it, it seemed like they didn't blend very well, like Lexical and Impressionist. Mm-hmm. Like they don't blend in an obvious way, at least the way I was thinking about it. So that's why I got the idea of like
things on a spectrum are not supposed to blend with each other. Not really.
Wait, no, they blend in the middle. That's what a spectrum
the opposite
is.
Sides are not supposed to blend.
Like you can think about it as like, you can have a slider of like black to white and there's like gray in between. But like when you take Lexical and Impressionist, it's like, what do you get in between? It's like percentages of either, as opposed to a completely different thing, I guess. That's sort of what I was getting at. But later on, there's like, I don't know, there's like left and right brain stuff. And so I don't know. It seems sort of irrelevant at this point, but.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
That's pretty much all that was.
We'll call it planting a seed.
Yes. Okay. Post 2 by Moncap is about human fields of occupation, as he says.
So occupations into the neurochart. Basically,
so he designed the different neurotypes, interests, essentially.
Yeah, this is the occupation stereotypes, mostly.
Yeah.
I think they changed over time, because, we get into it, but they're not that reflective. You have other professions now, kind of.
Yeah, and this is... I do not like it because it reflects exactly this thing I was talking about before, and which Digi in the video discouraged, which is, this isn't about personalities or interest. it's about cognitive mode.
So I like how it's like
the-
literally the second post about exactly
Yes.
what they shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And it
And-
happened instantly because making stereotypes and making like reductive versions of things is what people are all about in their truest, deepest nature.
Right, and it
is-
makes perfect sense because Digi herself in the video also did things like,
Yep.
these people would be good
Correct.
lawyers and so on.
So correct.
And so obviously, Digi didn't.
I mean,
even stick to
aptitude
it
is not
herself.
interest, but yeah. Like, I have a high aptitude for math, but fuck that.
Yeah.
Yeah, even me is not even free of stereotypes. That's actually incredible. Like everyone has it. Like nobody's safe from it. Also, this chart, by the way, uses the old names. just noticed that.
Yeah, use the old names.
Hey,
Also, kind
I
of
like
shows.
being called a.
Oh, sorry.
I like being called a shadow guardian. Like, combine this with the autism level, and it seems like I'm building a character. I'm a level 3 shadow guardian.
Nice.
Yeah, we can. Well, usually we actually knew the old names, so you can actually refer them as that, and we don't have a problem. But actually, we like the newer chart right now. We don't like brooders, middle managers, room brighteners. They also sound really weird now. Please don't use them. They're really.
Reasonable people is my favorite.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that.
Reasonable people.
I mean, I wouldn't hang around not reasonable people.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the rest of the chart,
Said
right?
the new type.
Yeah.
Yeah, native
we
is
also,
actually
like-
almost a horrible name. Because if you don't know what anime is, then how you can get new
Well, I
type,
didn't
the
know
reference.
what Neurotype was. I didn't get.
Yeah,
the
me
reference.
neither.
Yeah.
It's like fine.
Nobody
I
got
I mean,
guess.
if you are a new type and you don't know Gundam, you kind of vibe with it anyway.
Yeah,
like
right.
that.
Like, I haven't seen Gundam, and I still know what a new type is on a visceral level.
Yeah.
That puts you in 1% of 1% of all people.
Whoa,
This is-
dude.
I'm
Crazy.
special.
Here we also see in this chart the emergence of the specter that will haunt the quick-witted to their dying breath. Which is
Comedy.
that they are
Comedy.
yes, they're fully conflated with
Yep.
being the funny.
Yes.
Exie is not helping with that.
And Digi made it worse because that was her characterization of the quick-witted.
Yeah, that wasn't a
What
really
I
smart
am
move, was
interested
it?
in here is maybe like these more base things like music, aka like sounds, like things like sound and visuals and kinesthetics. Is that the right word for like sport?
Oh, yeah, chart in the show notes, I guess, for this, because we're looking at a graph and trying to talk about it in a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, we gotta have
Oh,
something on screen.
I will put all of this on screen. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
They
good.
will see
Okay,
this.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I expected. I mean, we're not going to talk like over like a wall of text, not have it displayed or something. That'd be really weird.
Does anybody not just tab away from a video like this, though?
I mean,
Anywhere?
yeah, but when they're discussing like a chart or something, I would tap back. into
I
it
think
and
it's
read.
still comprehensible, but if you actually like want to see like interesting visuals, then yeah, I mean, have them.
Yeah. I mean, I fall into the exact same trap. I put way too much effort into my own, like, Let's Plays and stuff when nobody's, like, the point of it is to be a podcast and nobody's actually looking at the screen, but visual aids and stuff. It's
Let's play podcast.
Okay. work.
So, welcome to
Anyways.
Alt Tab, where we will be talking about video games, and you can just click away to another tab.
Yeah, get back.
So it stands out to me that Clearsighted is labeled as the best for entrepreneurship. I'm looking at the updated chart, by the way.
Yeah.
The one in the comments?
Right.
Yeah. It stands out to me that the Clearsighted are like the best at entrepreneurship, according to this person, because like it always seemed to me like the quick-witted would be the best bosses because being impressionistic enough to like get on people's levels when they don't, or like get what people are saying, but lexical enough to give specific clear directions, and just lateral enough to be able to like manage a bunch of things, but still a little bit linear so that you're able to focus. Like that sounds like I'm describing a really good, like a coordinator of tasks and stuff.
Yeah.
And like it seems like entrepreneurship requires that.
I'd say it's, I don't know, it's more singularly focused, like on you're like building your own business, whereas I don't know, the quick-witted area would be you can just hop into anything.
Comedy.
Just grab it all. Yeah, it's comedy.
Yeah.
But you can hop into like any system and like pick it up, you know, without too much trouble.
Actually, I have a small rant, if I may. Like you know, the position of philosophy, it's actually bugging me a bit.
I hate this.
This
they
is
put
really
philosophy between human calculators and analysts, with analytical philosophy being on the human calculator half, and continental philosophy being on the analyst half. And I'm okay with analytical philosophy being for human calculators, because fuck analytical philosophy. Hot take, fuck analytical philosophy.
I mean, even if you even like split it up like that, it sounds like, it's actually really hard into that column. It's not actually like, it cannot be like pure instinct or anything. So actually, one thing you might not know, because we don't include it like right now, but we actually have someone made a chart from philosophers actually typing them, how they would think. Awful. And it had like them everywhere scattered around the chart. So to actually like assume they're like AC analyst or something is like super weird thing to claim.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like philosophy itself is just thinking, but publishing it. So like it makes perfect sense to me that philosophy should be fucking everywhere on this chart.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, the philosopher's chart that has them everywhere is also really bad. Like it has Wittgenstein in Overseers, I think, whereas Wittgenstein is the most human calculator motherfucker on the planet, and that one was a clusterfuck. But
we don't.
This also having content philosophy, having all of philosophy in that top corner is such a joke.
I can't even put it into words.
Imagine claiming that people like, I don't know, Gilles Deleuze are lexical. Imagine.
You just naming names, bro.
Bad. Cringe.
I totally only interact with these ideas and don't remember the people whatsoever, so it's like you're naming Pokemon.
Better. I think it's better to actually not remember the names. That's directing like hate at the actual human if you're reading some of those. Or the comments are even worse, I think, in most cases even. Please don't remember.
When actually we should direct hate at people based on how far back in time they were born.
Yes, that. And how far, yeah, exactly. How far down you are on a post, because commenters don't have rights. Make your own post. Don't be a parasite.
Also, don't lurk.
Lurkers are parasites. More hot takes. Good.
Are there any placements on this professions chart that you think are correct?
I won't say correct to any of those, because I can't say that, like, absolutely not. But we'll say math. Okay, you can actually say that human calculators if you really want to, because it is actually very lexical per se. A lot of people actually do have problems, like despite of being like very lexical or not. But I think lexical people still have like a small advantage at being actually good at higher math. But it's only my opinion. I don't actually know how other people actually do. Like I've never seen actually Neurotype like making like actually professional maths, like being a doctor, a PhD, actually like giving lectures or whatever.
Does anybody here know any mathematicians?
Yeah, I'm one. A mathematician. Okay, yeah. It's not me. I'm just studying really hard.
Yeah, like what was a comment made to me by my highly lexical friend is the business of learning math and the business of doing math are in dramatically different places on this chart. If you were to put them on this chart.
Oh yeah, I kind of agree. But a lot of people can do both, like, actually quite good. I think, I think they can actually do both.
I think, doing math would be, that's the developed skill.
Yeah.
It also depends on what kind of math. Like, I don't know, things like topology are probably more on the impressionist side.
By doing math, I mean discovering new math.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I assume to be doing math.
I thought I would clarify because a lot of people don't like.
Yeah, I should have said that by myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
One more laughable one. This chart, and I kind of agree with sport being for pure instinct.
Yeah. Actually,
I feel like that's the best one.
Only a weird fucking internet hermit could put sport in one of those squares.
Sports.
Actually, it's the kind of stereotype. I mean, I don't know about ReadMe because he's like pure instinct impressionist. Does he do sport actually? Does anyone know?
He's a twig.
Yeah, see, stereotype then.
Yeah.
If I was gonna stereotype, I would probably put sports in the like bottom half as far as like playing sports. Like, because sports fandom can be anywhere, but
baseball, I think like professional baseball is like actually like more on the lexical side if you actually like, because you have to do a lot of analysis and so on.
Yeah, also there's a book on tennis, which really makes it sound like complete 4D chess the entire time. So,
well, you could get that idea by just watching Prince of Tennis.
Yeah, or by reading Infinite Jest. How in Condenser, definitely. Lateral boy.
Okay, so nothing more about the chart? I think...
Wait a sec, I had another point.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I do think that politics, especially when we're talking about diplomats, probably fits kind of in the understanding region around. I think that would be where good diplomats would tend to fall around.
Also, caretaker is understanding. Don't get confused about that. If you don't, if you like blink in, like project in, like
is understanding.
Yeah, it only has caretakers and that's
yeah. Just look at the colors.
I feel like there is a greater propensity towards like visual arts, etc., in the top right corner. Like most of the time when I see somebody who's artistic, they are on the right half and they are generally pulled upwards in the chart.
I think we can even almost prove that like empirically if you like look at the Discord there at the top right half. I think there are a lot of people who do music, right? It could be like biased, but
Magic Man,
like Loveliest, Magic Man, you.
Yeah, we even have our own Discord doing that stuff.
Yeah, I'm also in it.
To contribute my own to this, I guess. Like, I haven't gone and like I've owned Fruity Loops for a while, but I haven't actually like started using it. But I do occasionally just like throw a beat together to put over like a video or something like that. And that feels very natural to me as a thing to do is make stupid mouth noises and then find sounds that sound like that.
Yeah, I can do music for good, but I don't think that has to do anything with being a human calculator. It just has to be not being able to produce content.
It's more the artistic impulse in general. And also that is a trend. It's not necessary at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely feel like the thought process lends itself to kind of having to find a way to put your thought somewhere else that isn't your head because you do not have that intrinsic systematization of everything. Yeah. A thing I've always said is writing is just thinking while sitting at a keyboard. And I 100% feel that. And it's actually just more effective thinking because you don't get stuck in loops when the characters are already there.
Can we all agree, though, that Daft Punk is top left music?
No idea what that is.
Sure.
Daft Punk? You don't know? Yeah, I guess
you don't have to explain it. We can go to the next one.
They're the fucking...
Yeah, let's just move on.
Yeah, Visor people.
I think we're spending more time than planned on these.
I called it.
Yeah,
I told you.
This will take forever.
I mean, we had it 2 out of 15, and we already at 48 minutes.
We've had useful discussion.
But I think the next ones are like that interesting.
Mhm.
So I think the lesser ones are don't produce that much content. So actually, yeah.
Next one is by a deleted user on
Sadly.
some thoughts on the codification of thought.
Oh yeah, I had a small rant about it. I was like almost having a small breakdown in VC when I was like reading that. Okay, you weren't there. Only Leaf, I think.
Let's just say some things about this post, because it assigns variables very weirdly to communication and information loss during communication, and just picks random numbers to make calculations from that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they were random. I think they were specifically chosen to make a very narrow point, but with no thought put into what those numbers are to be.
Absolutely none.
Yes.
Absolutely none. And I can say what I actually don't like about it. But you go explain.
That was all I wanted to say. Like it.
Oh, that's all.
It makes an example of how people have, depending on their communicative style, which is dependent on neurotype, a different amount of information loss in communication.
Correct. So
So that's set up with bullshit numbers.
Okay. So if I want to sum up, we actually start with like a value of 100. So that's inside one's person's head. And if someone wants to actually put out the idea, then they have a variable, a global variable intended to themselves that if they like spout out their ideas, then that gets subtracted from the 100. So that's a kind of the percentage of clarity or how is it? Anyway, it's basically how much productive thought there is. And if they want to transmit like from one person to another, it has go first through the mouth of the first one and second one to the ear, meaning that once it's lost from the sender and once it's also lost from the receiver. And actually what this post does, it's only did that for the first person, because obviously you don't receive from the first person that's ever had that thought. But he, for the other person, he just said, yeah, it's only going out, you know. He completely forgot that. That's very funny to me. Also, a big thing we have that, what's actually the, differences between lexicals and impressionists, because that's what the, axis is called about this, this is, yeah. So, I had actually like lexical people and impressionistic people, and how like lexicals can understand, themselves like way better if they're by themselves, and impressions are way better than explaining themselves, if they are in one group. And if the groups overlap, like a lexical is talking to impressionist, like a HC to an impressionist, then we all agree, almost everybody agrees that there's more information loss than if they're like two human calculators are like talking to each other, because they know each other, they know how the argument will go, and so on and so on. That's everything. Everything is not presented here. It's just literally just 100, and you just subtract numbers from it. That's everything.
Even
that's
then,
why
depending on
I
the
absolutely
communication
hate this
skill
post.
and style,
Exactly.
it becomes even more
I feel like
complicated.
if this person had spent half as long thinking about their own idea further as they did writing it out, they probably would have developed it a whole lot more.
Probably. Yeah, I think the point about like the self to environment synergy of, if you communicate with people in a similar cognitive style, obviously they'll understand more of it. And also this is just a very basic communicative system somehow superimposed onto neurotyping and doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I'm very curious about what actually would have happened if this person had put like more thought into it, because maybe I will do an update post about how to actually make this like proper to actually Beatrice from like a mathematical background, so it's not like just I'm subtracting numbers from 100s. We'll probably do an update post because this actually really is a thorn into my eye. I really want to like have this fleshed out in my head or like posted out.
Yeah. And there's a whole bunch about like communication that is not included in this. Things like error correction, which is a thing that exists, especially if you like you can get halfway into a conversation and then somebody says something that doesn't like line up with what you've understood them to say so far, and you've uncovered an error and you are able to pull it out better. And that is not at all captured by this system. There's no talk about like signal to noise ratio of like which pieces of information are important and being able to determine what those are. There's also no talking about like when you misunderstand somebody, it's not just information loss. There's other stuff that comes in and to add on to it and replace it, and it's not just like making a shitty photocopy.
Also, there are examples in here where people end up with 40% information conveyed, as you said, with noise getting back in. There's no talk of back-checking, because if you only communicate 40%, something else is added to it. There will not be a coherent point at the end. Either the person you're talking to will just stop talking to you because it's not making sense if only 40% was communicated, or they will ask what or explain this a different way. So maybe the communication will be longer, but if they ask question and act the way that a person would, you would not end up with 40% in any reasonable discourse.
It's not like someone speaking and then they shut up for the rest of the conversation. They never mention it again. It's not how any of this works.
I don't know. Like my intuition says that 40% is actually possible, because like what does 40% information look like? It's not.
Oh yeah, I want to.
Like I think you're overcharacterizing it as meaningless nonsense.
Yeah, I want to say something to that too, but after Oro, to make a point first.
No, I don't think with the 100% they mean all the nuance, every single concept and emotion you associate with what you're trying to communicate, because at that point you're just conveying your whole character and everything you've ever thought onto the person. I think 100% just means the point, kind of, most of it. Mm-hmm. So 40% of that would be very little. If we're talking 40% of the actual complete concept with every nuance and vibe associated with that, then yes, 40% would be decent.
Yeah, also like assuming like everybody has like a completely nuanced idea in their head, like always 100% of the time. It's like kind of ludicrous if the had that. Yeah, also I really don't like having like 40% of the thought. It's not like you put like 400. If you have like 1 liter of water and like have like 400 milliliters after that. That's not how thoughts work. They are very complicated. If you just cut a brain in half, you won't have like 2 halves of a brain. You just have a mess of everything.
Yeah. And it matters how you slice it, because if you take only the first half of a sentence, you have the first half of a sentence. If you take only the top half of a sentence, you have nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's another way to say. I want to say if you don't have like the brain into like like laterality and no, what's it called? Like where the huge gap is, but like splice it like from the height of the human. Not like splice it at a different angle. You know, not like the hemispheres.
Yeah. It's like I always say.
Or you take only the grey matter, or only the white matter. So you're lacking all the connective tissue. Yeah, that's great.
If you take half of a person, you don't wind up with half of a person. You wind up with one person who's very inconvenienced, or you wind up with no people.
I guess one more thing I was going to say about like the 40% or miscommunication is there is a scenario where both people think that they've gotten the point across. Oh. Like you might explain something and it's like, oh yeah, I get it. And then you think they got it, but they actually didn't. And then that leads to misunderstanding down the road. But like in the conversation, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Oh yeah, that's but
Right,
just
but at that
communications.
At that point, you just created a new idea. If everyone
Sure.
thinks they got the point,
Yeah.
and it wasn't the point, you've just created a new idea. That's a win.
And if you want to see this in microcosm, look at Twitter.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Good example, actually. Very good example.
Although, as we talk about Twitter and everything, the amount of error correction in what a person reads, like somebody did explain, a study at some point. I don't remember all the context on this. I just remember the central point, which is they were trying to measure how much information you could fill back in if they deleted more and more letters but left the length, like blacked over some text.
Yeah.
How much text do you need to still have in order to have the idea and the ability to error correct for it? And what they came up with in the end is you get about a density of one idea per letter, which means that you can lose a huge amount of information and still come out with a complete idea because of how like durable and dense and inter-embedded into itself it is.
Okay, so I think we can wrap up at this point. I mean,
yeah.
This post is
I
like,
guess what we're trying to say is fuck that guy.
yeah, fuck that guy. We
But
can
this
at
will-
least agree on that, right?
People inventing numbers for shit will come up again. This is the birth of neurocalculus, and it will haunt us far into the future.
Yeah, neurocalculus. Remember that word, because I think there's quite a lot of posts right now. I think even on Reddit. Okay. Oh, by the way, next one I just see it is about MBTI listing, and was like a statistics. And the thing is, I wanted to look at this, but I actually didn't like do it. I forgot to do it. Or did I? Oh yeah, the thing is we don't have anybody like here who actually is into MBTI. We have two people who we know that could explain this, but we don't have them right now. So I think we'll be skipping this one, right?
But this will also be a recurring theme that people try to link neurotyping to other personality matrices. And try
MBTI, Big Five.
And in particular, they try to retrofit MBTI onto neurotyping as though they're even talking about the same thing.
Right, but there will be an interesting post in the future where people actually collect the data on,
collect the data.
This MBTI type, and then see if there are trends emergent. And there are very few, but some exist, and that's quite interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, actual data collection. That's actually very rare in this respect, neurotyping.
Oh yeah, as I said, it's a lot of, this is how I think other people think, and I will not ask them about it.
And I'm happy about every data collection and actual mathematics behind it. I can get behind that. Okay.
I will construct a society in my mind and then assume that to be how people actually think. Cool.
Okay. So, skipping this one at least. Yeah, because we don't know anything.
The one comment that I can make about this is that the post itself is on really shaky ground. You mean to tell me that you're going to MBTI type fictional characters and then also place them on what neurotype they are, and do this by having a bunch of weeaboos vote on it, who you all trust to understand both systems, and then collect enough votes to come out with a meaningful entry in the end? No, you won't.
Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, just on a side note, I think there's a post later where we actually voted which neurotype they are, and it's completely off. You can't use it.
We'll get to that.
You can't use it.
This would be maybe more reliable if it was like one person typing everything, because then at least you have one consistent style of typing things.
I think the Discord is the best data we have on it.
Just to teabag MBTI on the way out from this post, just one last time, the most popular MBTI website, which is 16types dot something or other, is actually not even MBTI. It's actually, if you go to their About page, they say, yeah, this is actually just the Big Five, but we rearranged it to look like MBTI on the surface level. but under the hood, it's the big 5.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's awkward. Strange.
That's hilarious.
Oh my god.
No, that's really weird.
It's an upfront admission that MBTI is bullshit.
Yeah. Hey, let's do that same thing for neurotyping.
Yeah, exactly.
No, please, that's too scammy. We can't do that.
All right, what do we got next?
Okay.
All right, next
Oh.
The problem is, my notes for the next post are only, God, I hate these people. This was a mistake.
Oh yeah, I had no comment.
This is the only note I wrote.
I had no comment on it.
Okay, that's just the title. Neuroscientist here. I was interested to know if anyone is familiar with significant research backing up similar categorization methods.
DTBro has already brought up the MBTI/Myers-Briggs system. I am curious to know if anybody is particularly familiar with any relevant validation methods used in this space already. All right, so
why are
basically
you on
what this person
Reddit? Why are you asking this on Reddit?
Yeah.
You are a neuroscientist. Go to your fucking... Jesus.
Space.
you're crowdsourcing the question to Reddit, who is not neuroscientists,
Yeah.
and therefore don't have a degree that they could use to interpret the research papers that they also can't search because they don't have access to a research paper database the way that you do as a neuroscientist.
Exactly. You're a neuroscientist. There's probably a sociology or a psychology department wherever you are. Ask those
maybe
people.
that's your job to actually provide us with like things.
Yeah. If you don't have access to a database yourself, like Sci-Hub, let's say, the piracy one, but if you don't have access to one of those yourself, you know somebody who does personally, and you probably also have connections at a school that you went to become a neuroscientist, where you could just ask them, hey, could you look this up for me?
Yeah, exactly.
And this would be, it's a person
I
who is
am not a neuroscientist, and I could do that.
Yeah. It's a person who's uniquely qualified to answer the question that they are asking a bunch of people who are not at all qualified to answer that question.
Yes, in a community about pop psychology.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think we're all here because we think that there's something real under the hood that is being described here.
Oh, yeah,
right?
sure.
Yeah, I guess.
But
everybody of us fall. Yeah.
It's a crowdsourced science right now, which means that you're going to get a whole lot of garbage, like what we've already talked about.
Yeah.
I don't want to even know how much garbage we talked in this last hour. I don't want to actually look at it again.
All right, so somebody else do the editing then.
Yeah, I think that if you are asking any question to Reddit, you do not respect your own time enough to probably be a scientist. I don't believe you.
Yeah, being a scientist is all about doing the legwork, even though it's fucking boring.
Exactly, but you would have learned to be more efficient than asking fucking people on Reddit.
It depends on the size of the group and what question you're asking, but that's just like a minor quibble. I overall agree with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we then rest this? I mean, nobody wants to talk about it more. Do we? Do we actually?
I mean, I've got more.
Oh yeah.
Also, you know what's really funny? This was made by Actima, right? He's actually a quite nice guy, but
yeah, I know. He's an okay dude. I don't hate him.
He makes such
awful.
made posts. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
All right, so there's this idea, like even asking, like, is there previous work that you could base this on? The whole point of the neurotyping thing is that it's a new idea, that this had not previously been thought of before, and definitely hasn't been thought of in these terms with these axes by anybody in the scientific community, or at the very least that they haven't published it. And so, like, you're coming into this space where you have crowdsourced science, kind of, and you're asking if they have approval from the ivory tower, as though academia has a monopoly on legitimacy and truth both. Consider that my advertisement for a PBS Idea channel on the same subject, where they talked about how academia is not the only source of truth and stuff.
Yeah, I just want PBS Idea Channel back on any subject.
Yeah. I miss that.
I loved that channel. Where did you go? I miss you.
Yeah, same. Okay.
Next one?
Want to make this clear. None of this fucking acid and vitriol is an indictment of the people writing these things.
Oh
Most
yeah,
of them
I think that should be
fine.
clear from the button from the start.
Yeah.
Except for the aforementioned fascists. Fuck them. Yeah. We will not conceive of people as whole. We will judge them by these specific ideas. And we will be mean about the posts, but I'm sure you put effort into whatever you wrote down. I'm sure you're a good person.
Oh, I can't write posts without
I'm sure of
putting
neither of those things, but I do want to give you the benefit of the doubt if you're listening to this.
No, I don't mean this. I'm just saying it.
Well, next post. About two stats for lexical versus impressionist. Oh yeah.
The idea behind this one is, what if lexicality and impressionism are separate things? Like, they're not on a spectrum, they're different stats in an RPG stat graph. And
right, it's what Urcoy mentioned earlier. That these might be just things you can be differently good at, and you would have a dominant one. But having your impressionism at 80% would not mean that your lexicality would be 20%, but
correct.
Could have any combination, right?
They don't have to add up to 100. They're not percentages.
That was actually bugging me from the start a bit. That you actually like have these graphs and two axes and have 4 different directions, named completely separately, and they'd say, yeah, these have to add up to 100, and those have to add up to 100. That was a bit fishy, but I think you can still do it.
Well, okay. So as a skills-oriented person, I have built myself around skills, and like I can totally see somebody like talking to me for a while and assuming that I'm a pretty lexical person because I have a very precise mode of speech most of the time. You get that? Yeah. That is entirely because I spend most of my life around a self-described the most lexical person alive, and so like in order to be able to communicate, I had to build the skills of being lexical. But that doesn't. What I'm doing is different than what I am underneath. But what is even a difference to draw between how you think and how you think, but also it is a skill?
Yeah, that's tricky.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I started out being against the idea of it being a skill, and now I'm back to agreeing that it is a skill. I still think putting people on like placing people on the axis of a chart is a useful thing to do because you want to give an overall gist of what somebody's good at. But we shouldn't assume that two people who are at the exact same coordinates will be equally good at communicating.
No, what maybe a different chart for that, for different things. Not use
charts all the way down.
No, don't use one chart for like everything. Like, I don't know if you make like a chart of your school grades. That won't help with anything.
Yeah, that's Neurotype.
Another round of charts. Also,
chart down for what?
One small thing I want to address. It's a very small thing. He said, I think a logarithmic scale fixes this and shows more of the interesting comparison we want to see. The thing is, in practice, no, we don't have to use logarithmic scale fixes. We actually experience very weird things at the end of the axis. Like, what happens if you are like 100% lexical? What does that even mean? We have actually a lot of discussion over that. What does it actually mean to be 100% lexical or 0%, 100%? No, we had lateral, right? 0% lateral. And what does that even mean? And we had actually a discussion about it and make them, we say, they're kind of unbounded because 100% doesn't make sense. So I think that's where the you said like logarithmic scale fixes. So we don't actually have like boundaries, but just like infinities, and just compress them into like into the chart. This is but actually no, that's completely unnecessary. We don't have to do that. We don't have to bend.
So you can go.
Yeah, we don't have issues with that.
Yeah,
Never.
You can always be further into any direction, but you should still be presentable visually in a finite space.
I think we should, before we can even talk about something like that like, I mean, we can discuss it, of course, but before we can like realistically be like, I think this calls for a logarithmic scale, I think we ought to like actually take some testing data, which requires us to have a robustly good test, which is why we should work on that test.
We are kind of working on it, but it's a bit of the hard because a lot of people are like into exams and such not, and school had begun again, so and so on. We have a lot of school kids, some school kids.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. There was a comment that I made very early on to somebody when I said, well, what if somebody's bad at words and impressions? And somebody else was like, what does it mean to be bad at impressions? Well, having now had many months of experience talking to an impressionistic person who's also bad at communicating, let me tell you that like you can be an impressionistic person at heart and still be bad at picking up vibes or at communicating vibes. Mm-hmm. You know, like that thinking that way doesn't make you good at it.
Yeah, it's a thing about focus and practice. Like that one is the way through which you contextualize the world does not mean that you've necessarily picked up that skill, because if you've never been in a position where it has been challenged, let's say you are a very impressionist person in a lexical environment, you contextualize most things through the impressions of it, but then you have only been ever practiced in having to relaying that lexically, then you would have no way of really understanding what it means to have gotten good at refining the impressions you receive and trying to pick out the nuance because it's the nuance because it's never been needed. I think practice is praxis. Practice, fuck, is important.
Another comments on this? For everybody.
So just again to sort of explain what they're talking about. They bring up the example of the brain halves, which is kind of misguided, but sure.
Brain halves are bullshit, yes.
Brain halves are bullshit. But if we were to accept the premise that one does all the logics and one does all the art shit, the creativity, then, for example, to be a good scientist, you would also need some of that creativity. And the idea is that you can have both of these brain halves incredibly swole. I mean, you're just smart, and then you would have high impressionism and high lexicality, and vice versa. So that's the idea they're presenting. These are different axes. You can be better at one, you don't have to be. And you can be very good at both, or very bad at both.
Yeah, I can personally confirm
intelligence, just as like brain halves, is also bullshit. That's that.
We'll talk about that later.
We will maybe not talk about that ever, maybe. But we have to actually write because there are a lot of posts about IQ and stuff.
Oh, I don't mean on the podcast.
Then anyway. Please not ever.
Okay, so I had a point and then I lost it. No.
Was it about this or?
It was about the post. I can. Oh, right. Okay, I got back. So, I typed myself in where I did because of my description of communication as music. Okay, when somebody's giving you a flow of ideas, they are playing you a melody, and the way that I check for whether I get somebody's gist or whether I think that they're not communicating themselves well is I feel like I can hear like a dissonance, like a chord that I expect to be there is not there, or something like that. And so I can tell that there's something wrong. And then when I dig into that, it turns out that I have uncovered some meaning that they were doing a bad job of before. And this is the vibe. This is the vibe, not the vibe check, but this is a kind of vibe check, I guess.
Vibe test.
And so when I'm trying to describe to a lexical person what I mean by impressionism, this is generally the model that I go with, where like some things don't line up right, and you can tell the gist of what somebody's about, but none of their specifics are making any sense. So you have to like wait for them to muddle through until they can get it across to you.
I think I could understand that pretty, like, pick it on. You explained it, like, quite good, even for me.
Yeah.
This guy, Crab Gems, is also the first person to bring up divergent and convergent thinking for laterality and linearity.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention that.
We will get more into that later, but this is the first mention of these concepts. Because there will be a post entirely about similarities between divergent and convergent thinking and lateral.
And it's a big thing right now about the test. Maybe if we like include some questions like sneak in there about that. Maybe not, probably because it's kind of shaky.
My super Lexi friend made a really good point that they like how linearity and laterality behaves completely differently from lexicality and impressionism, because that's what perpendicular axes are supposed to be. They're supposed to be fundamentally different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like we haven't gotten into it yet, but just keep vaguely in the back of your mind whenever it's mentioned about linearity and laterality that like people interact with that axis totally differently.
Yeah. You want to go into vector spaces like math or something?
And one of the problems is that, yes, that is the case when it's done well, and obviously should be the case because they're independent axes, they're base vectors. But a lot of the time, for most of these posts, when someone describes a concept and being like, yeah, this is laterality linearity, laterality linearity, another person will be, well, no, actually, I think that's impressionism lexicality. So people are still not
exactly
certain
you
what
always
axis which is. One of a mod on the Reddit, Scroy, is infamous for this 90-degree chart flipping. When someone comes up with a theory being, no, actually that describes the other axis.
It became very apparent when you were working on the test questions. Oh, dude, that's hell working with them, because he will just object to anything we say, and oftentimes not even provide a better solution or just pointing out like what's actually wrong. He just says, no, I don't agree with it, and it's so hard to work with him. He's actually quite good at what he does. Because he always like points out and holds us back to not ramble about something for like 3 hours without like feedback. He actually does give feedback, but not in the best way possible that we actually need.
All right.
Okay.
To the
next
Bookkeeper post.
Yeah, actually, this was made by Digibro or Digini.
Digibro, though actually reposted from someone else at Bento Sakai on Twitter.
You have any quick notes on that?
Oh yeah, sure.
Because I didn't actually look into this like very well, so I can speak to.
I would say it's the first time where somebody like changed one of the labels in a convincing way, and everybody was like, "Hey, yeah, that is better," and then they just went with it.
Yeah, I do think that Bookkeeper is a lot better than Middle Manager.
Oh yeah,
But they also are the first person, I think they're the first person, to do the fucking LTHL kind of thing, like using the abbreviation, like linear thinking, hyperlexical, and so on. Like doing abbreviations instead of working with the names, which later other people, mostly human calculators, picked up and being like, okay, no, we should just use the abbreviation because the names are misleading. And I would take the completely opposite approach, as the names are the best thing for explaining this.
On the side note,
Make better names. Don't take them out of it.
For defense for myself, I never did that. I never did. I just said, fuck it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying HC, human calculator. I don't know. I don't care. I just say HC. That's it. Also, the emotes, we only do the first, we only have like emotes for every, neurotype. And it's everything it's only like 2, characters, and not 4. Because that's what we would have gotten if we actually wrote with it. And I'm very happy about
it. There's this old-timey sci-fi word called grok. Have you GROK? Have you either?
Yeah, to grok something to understand on a visceral level, right?
Yeah, it goes beyond that, but yes, to understand something on a visceral level, like it's like gut feel. You understand something so completely that it becomes a part of you, and you become a part of it, and like the meme of your personhood merges with this idea, and it's all one like continual slurry of thought and being. That's what grokking is, and that's a loose description of extreme impressionism.
Right.
And I feel like I would want to bring back grok as an impressionistic word to mean, yeah, I get you. I grok you.
Then this also again brings up some things about communication between neurotypes. Well, a lexical, in this case, like a bookkeeper, a very lexical person would maybe have trouble understanding the way that an impressionist person would work, and therefore be more suitable to this middle managerial position, which they say, as Beatrice put correctly. That would still be a thing that would be more applicable to the kind of lower functioning people in that, because you can just through practice get better in understanding what people mean and communicating with them.
Yeah.
Which I think is a very good point. I agree 100% with that. There are some weird things in there, which is that, he makes a big fuss about that him as a bookkeeper is very interested in people in the hard right and new types. So it's not just people being obsessed with themselves, but I think that's obvious. Like, obviously people who think differently from you would be interesting to you. That seems like a truism, right?
Yeah. The general trend that I've seen is that people are more interested on their left to right opposite. Preshies tend to like Lexis, and Lexis tend to like Preshies as far as like their ability to do the thing that they are. My last point on this post is take a look at this guy's fucking Mal page and tell me that doesn't perfectly communicate what a bookkeeper is.
It's very well laid out.
Yeah. All of those buttons that expand out into charts and stuff.
Oh my god. And you.
Yeah, this. Yeah,
okay.
This is a thing. Sure. God damn it.
And this also breaks the artsy side is the right side idea, because if you look at, like, if you expand one of those buttons, like it's like rigidly arranged and stuff like that, but there's like,
they look very
thematic,
pretty,
evocative feeling art that's thrown onto that too. Like, take a like it when you expand it out, it's obviously boring in the data part, but it's also really pretty.
Yeah, very nice looking. Like this, this
props
this
to
score,
this guy.
like the top one, it's like the 1 to 10 looks very nice.
There's a meme of people shitting on very linear people, also kind of on lexicals, which I don't think is warranted. People can be cool.
I am 100% guilty of thinking linearity bad, laterality good.
I mean, actually, we are all everybody's here is on the top half. I think, right? Yeah, Urcoy is Neurotype, Esthetician. Yeah, between quick-witted and me is HC. Yeah, I think we should like include more linear people. But I think it's nobody
it's hard to get him on here. Like,
yeah, we would have had a pure instinct person on here, but he dropped out really last.
Oh yes, right. Readme. Yeah.
No.
He will probably be back as a guest. At some
he
point
will
to talk
be
about
as
his
a
own
guest.
contributions to neurotyping.
But he didn't want to be a regular host.
Didn't want to be a regular host.
So,
yeah,
like,
and what?
You first.
Oh yeah. Last thing is that at the end, he also again goes into how your neurotype doesn't set a hard limit on what it is that you can do with your cognition. You can pick any field of occupation, any interest. You can get good at anything. Your neurotype doesn't limit you. And I think that's a very important idea that people way too often lose track of, being like, well, if you're this, you should do this and this and this and this. And that's just not the case. You can adapt any mode of cognition to any field and probably do something interesting with it. Don't use your neurotype as an excuse to not do a thing. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good thought to generally have.
The bookkeeper is right. Listen to him. The way he types is incredibly pretentious and awful. He formats this like a paper. He has a fucking navigation bar on the left, despite this only being a few pages. You can read this in 5 minutes. It does not need a navigation bar. That is the silliest thing on the planet. But he did it anyway. Yeah. But despite all that, he is right.
No, I won't kill him for that. That's just a quirk, I think.
Now, as an old person, as someone who is over 30, I have noticed when I look back at myself that I have gotten more linear with time. And so because this is such a new idea and so many of the people who are into it are very young, I feel like that's probably a rare observation from personal experience. Like, you can ascribe, well, you've just gotten more linear with time to other people, but I feel like there's something significant to noticing it about myself, you know? And like, I was for a long time really kind of afraid of that. Like, linearity is bad. Why would you only want to be able to think about one thing at a time? Doesn't that just mean you're stupid? But this is evidence to point to that is clearly not the case. This is a cool, smart guy.
Okay, then we are kind of done with this.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Next one, what was it again? Neurotyping. It was a summary. Oh, okay.
This is a recap episode, which is very important. Like, this is just a post, putting the important quotes from the Digi videos, saying, okay, this is that.
Yep.
It's a recap, but it's useful because this has already, after so few posts, there have been so many new ideas, so much. It's good to have a refresher of just what is neurotyping even.
Yeah, I have to say it's actually way better than I expected from the really old posts. It's like actually very I don't know, it's also it's fascinating how it's flourished so quickly, because it was done in just a matter of few days, and having this much of text accumulated for this whole thing is really awesome. But still, what you find in this is there are still a lot of stereotypes integrated into it. I think I had it in my notes here. Yeah, exactly. So I had 3 issues with it. Which was it? Analysts, aestheticians, and new types. I had a real problem with them. Because if we actually look at them, if I find this again. Yes, so analysts. I really want to get this. Absolutely.
Will gain a sense of something before they have the ability to codify it, and then work towards the ability to do so. May feel like human calculators, but with a slight impressionistic slant. Most often observe otaku, most often obsessive otaku, with a propensity for dispensing long-winded analytical diatribes. Okay, so this is just describing Digibro.
Yeah, exactly. I want to. Okay, the first 2 are okay. You can say that if you really want. I will get to the second point, by the way. Most often, the third one is just Digibro. That's not. That should never appear. And actually, this should never do. This is way too self-blended. Also, I want to get about this may feel like a human calculator, but with a slight impressionistic slant. Actually, if I were to go into Discord and actually talk with the analyst people out there, it feels like they're like completely not human calculators. They just you could never mistype them as human calculators. This is only my impression, because I think for some reason there's like a huge wall between them, between human calculators and analysts. Like you won't mistype them as each other. Yeah.
Analysts are as far from human calculators as human calculators are from other normal humans.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! Did you? Yeah, my copy pasta came into my mind. Not this episode, but it's very funny. We actually use it as a copy pasta. Okay. The next one, because I actually have this like kinda planned out. So what was it? Esthetician, right? Where is it?
Difficult to communicate to others in spite of being capable of understanding, tend to be incredibly frustrated with everyone around them, feeling like they are both trying to say the same thing and wondering why they're so hung up on specific word choice. And you put in the notes that this might be influenced by me on the Discord, because others don't necessarily seem to fit in that stereotype. I was not in the Discord at that point, so it's not referring to me, but I feel seen despite it.
Yeah, I have to say, this is, this really sounds like complete, like overfitting. Because if there's like only one or two estheticians, and then you actually like try to get like a feeling for them, then it's like more of a person. You're describing more of a person than a personality itself. And it really shows here. It really, really shows here that there's only like one or two people and you are like describing them. Because I would probably like almost like type oral, like I would have almost done the same thing, but only for oral. Also new types, nothing but just insanely complex, detailed and robust ideas all the time. Absolutely no idea how to express it in words. Hypersocial morons. Who is unique mental capabilities only to feast of bizarre genius as honest lightning strikes at the same place. I have no idea what to say about that, because it sounds just too funny.
That description makes me think of like the nightmare scenario of Rick Sanchez, that one punishment, where they swap your conscious and unconscious minds, you know, but phrased as though it's a good thing and mythologized and stuff.
No, dude, I have no idea who wrote that. I probably like the OP, but oh no, you should never express it like that. Yeah, I can't even express it in 2 words, but it just sounds like it just sounds like loneliest, to be honest.
Also, again, this has the hypersocial for a neurotype, which makes no sense, especially if you look at the just choices. Like, imagine putting Sato from NHK as hypersocial.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's another thing. By making it a chart instead of like a list or something like that, it immediately kind of requires laterality, because you have to be able to take in the whole chart and process the whole chart kind of all at once in order to really make sense of it. So I feel like the chart is for people in the top right quadrant.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Kind of,
yeah. Like this is something that I have come to really feel when I'm interacting with my more linear friends. Is there's a definite difference in how much stuff we can hold in our heads at once. And so like if an idea requires you to hold like an entire book in your head at the same time, where it's all in your working memory and in your attention and stuff, then you just gotta find a different way to communicate that to that person, because it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, like exactly, the chart requires some amount of laterality to essentially develop both of these axes at the same time.
Yeah.
While the video goes through it in a more linear manner, and then is essentially the list format just spoken.
Yeah.
I'd say it's good for impressionists and good for nerds. being like lateral, so it like doubles up on the lat imp side.
Yeah. Like the higher your TISM level, the more likely you are to get it as well. Oh, can I just say that I feel like personally robbed by the fact that Digi utterly abandoned the autism levels theory, and I feel like that's equally interesting but way less developed because it doesn't have this giant community around it the way that neurotyping does.
I find that also a bit sad, because that was actually the time I was not like into Digi like 100%, but after that video I was like, yeah, I want to see more content like this, and then the neurotyping came out. It's like, yeah, but sadly after that I don't think there is like huge coming. This is like almost a magnum opus, sadly.
And I feel like obligated to take up the torch for the autism level.
I want to do it too.
Like I'm
absolutely.
Yeah,
I feel like
I'm under-equipped as a non-autistic person.
Okay.
Or like, and I'm only a level 3. I am insufficiently autistic to really pull it out. And being a cis person, like, that also means that like the differences in the way that autism presents in women is not captured whatsoever by the chart.
Do we actually have like some women in here to actually help us out? I don't
know about in here, but I do have access to an autistic woman.
Oh, that's
that I can
great.
ask questions.
Because well, it sounds so weird actually. Maybe for me,
I phrased it in the most like chilling way possible, but
yeah, right.
I regret to inform I have no access to autistic women.
Your access card to the Spurg Women's Club.
Okay, we get back to topic. We can do this. Okay. Actually, I have another point to actually say, and it comes back to actually having like stereotypes in the really early days and how we are like getting rid of them the more time we spend into them. And the category I want to point at is actually my category, human calculators. As you can see, I want to like read out everything. I recognizably autistic to just about anyone. So this is actually per se this isn't actually stereotype, because just about anyone you can actually just see this is an exact definition. This is just an impression, often like a stereotype. You can just by that like say, okay, this is not very serious. Also, the use of autistic here is obvious.
It's like the one specific idea of the autistic person who's just like very specific about everything and doesn't really understand.
Also, like completely disregarding the new types. You're also like the same thing. Also, recognize the autistic here just a bit.
We'll get to the autism theory post at some point.
Oh, I can't wait until we get to circle theory. That's so exciting.
Also the another thing, the eccentric geniuses. This is the I think the hardest this is. Eccentric geniuses. As DG made the chart, actually, he had also the factor IQ in it. It's not absolutely not representative of the characters themselves. It's just an estimate of like an otaku.
Yeah.
don't
not
take it
even
too seriously.
IQ, and IQ is bullshit. Like, IQ is not a good measure of intelligence.
No, we get to that later. I just want to say, please don't take it seriously. It's just Digi making things.
Yeah.
Actually,
it is the Digi version of these things, and like in that way, it kind of requires the autism chart as prior homework to understand what is meant by like.
And the IQ thing, the only point was to see that there's a difference at all in intelligence. And how that
so what actually was is there were 5 high IQ people and 1 low IQ people, and Digi said like, we actually kind of had to include a low IQ one because otherwise, this is too much of a stereotype. I found the way that she phrased it in the video was like absolutely like horrendous, because she was just stereotyping just that, and this is completely 100% reflected in here. Eccentric geniuses. If you want to, you can call me that, eccentric geniuses. Okay, but I'm absolutely not representative of like the whole human calculator. Please don't do that. I take offense for it. Actually.
Gotcha.
Okay, I am finished with this one.
Yeah, I'm good. Other than to say, if we had started with the neurotyping summary, what I wrote in my notes was, well, our work is done for us, but actually looking over it, no, there's way more ideas that we have covered than this summary post has covered. So watch us instead. Aren't we so much cooler than
Yeah,
this
that's
person?
why it's called a summary.
Okay. Now, a post by our dearly departed ReadMe.
He's not dead,
Did
you know.
he
He's
die?
just
not dead.
he's just not
on the
post.
podcast.
He's just not host. Okay.
There was two
Yeah,
posts
not
in a
dead.
row. The first one being linear definition.
Yeah.
Oh wait. By the way, there are two posts like linked together, like linear thinker and lateral thinker. You can put them together, I think.
I wrote a note like the first thing you'll notice is the linear description is much shorter than the lateral one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was also
obviously.
very funny.
Yes, to anyone who doesn't know, there is a big document in which the neurotypes on the Discord were asked to describe themselves.
Oh, I
so
haven't
that
seen
other
that.
people might type
I think
themselves.
that was
depending on
around the
that.
time when I joined the Reddit, I think.
No, it was also quite recent. Another one, by the way.
And pure instinct is the last type on that list, so you have to scroll all the way down. And there's one comment there that is, if you skipped all of that crap, then you're here.
Yeah, that was really funny. I didn't actually see that, like, never. I was only interested into human calculators, what they wrote.
Well, there is a Reddit post about it later on, so then we will be talking more extensively about it. I just thought that was pertinent.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Read me on linearity and laterality.
Okay.
There's kind of an idea of linearity is more tethered, more to the ground, just working with what is there, while laterality is very aloof, just completely distant from the world of things and objects.
I mean, I feel like this is short enough that I could read the whole thing so that people don't have to tab back over.
Oh, yeah, sure. Right.
Linear thinker
I
definition.
mean, it will be on
needs
screen,
work.
but yeah, you don't have
The
to
more
tab
linear
over
a person is, the more the more likely they are to have a single train of thought and less likely to have multiple trains of thought. Argumentative. They are more likely to be focused on one thing and less likely to have their attention divided among more than one thing. And because of this, more linear thinkers tend to get caught up in the moment because of their single train of thought is often taken up by that moment. They're more likely to know what type of person they are and less likely to be confused about what type of person they are because they define themselves with that single ongoing train of thought. And that's what I mean when I say fast-talking craftsmen. So, this multiple trains of thought thing needs discussion. Like right now.
I also have this in my notes because this is the reappearance of the actual notion of a number of trains of thoughts, because all the previous posts have been ignoring that because it's kind of bullshit. It's pretty much accepted fact that you cannot have multiple thoughts.
Yeah, you
at
can't
once. It just
actually
doesn't
have
work.
multi-core process. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, I try.
So, I'm gonna be in the minority and say that is. I'm gonna give one of my famous hot takes, which is the opinion that makes nobody happy. One, that multiple trains of thought absolutely can happen, but they're in such an extreme minority that anybody who claims to have one should be immediately doubted and probably like put in a box for study. Yeah. There are, like, I'm going to call ahead and say that Digi clarified what is meant by multiple trains of thought multiple times in different places.
About to say that there's in a later video this idea of cloud-like thinking, and I think that's what multiple trains of thought means. It's just that the thought itself is that comes up in the next post. It's less concrete. It kind of frizzles out at the edges, so it's harder to say, okay, where does this end and the next thought begin? So it's kind of easy to see it as a confluence of multiple thoughts at once. But it's one thought, it's more cloud-like. It's kind of diffuse.
You know, I'm actually going to disagree with you on this one because, like, I don't necessarily mean that it's like, Like, I mean that your description of cloud-like is different than my understanding of cloud-like, and the kind of thing that I think of when I think about how I used to be is interestingly different. You know, but we can get deeper into that in a future episode where we talk about
absolutely
clarified what is meant by linear. Calling ahead that way, like we entice you to come back to future episodes.
Yes.
It's not like we're doing that the whole entire time. Yeah, that will come up in a future episode.
Yeah, I mean, I just mean that I want to talk about it all at once.
Yeah, we have to keep you interested and later further radicalize you into neurotype. That's why it's called the Neurotypeline. You are being pipelined as you listen. You must be enticed.
Okay.
We have to suck you deep.
Okay, to actually come back, yeah. I actually satirized this in my notes, like how you cannot phrase it like this. I'm just going to read it out because it's like quite short. Can we honestly participate in a podcast and seriously say one-threaded thought process means linear and multi-threaded thought process means lateral? Because this is exactly what he kind of wrote. And if you were actually not like criticizing like to the utmost limit, then we just sound like completely ludicrous. You cannot like seriously say this, right? But this is exactly what this post said. So
yeah, like you would expect it to be even more all over the place than we already have been, given how many lateral people there are. I feel like me and Oro might be the more linear people in this group. Is that?
Yeah. If you want to call second row like more linear, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the other people here have more of a horse in the race when it comes to laterality. For me, I'm pretty close to the dividing line. Whichever way a certain concept swings, it's like, okay, that would play more of a role for the extreme types. I have a lot more thoughts on Impressionism and lexicality because of that.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and call I'm on the fringe of it, but I'm going to go ahead and call myself a core type because I'm one of the inside four.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
One of the four musketeers.
Yeah. The core types, all need class solidarity with each other. And just like how the rim types need to support each other.
Right.
And like you need to all support each other by like providing avenues for like mutual labor. You need to give each other rim jobs.
Okay. Do you want to switch to laterality? Because I think there's not that much to say about linearity, right?
And then that whole thing reaches a confluence of class solidarity between then even those two classes, the rim classes and the core classes, with Marxist-Leninism, because obviously Lenin is a quick-witted and Marx is a technician.
Okay.
Right on. Yeah.
Going on. Laterality. In my notes, I have like just hand-picked quotes and like responding to them and taking up a lot of space. So, actually I have this, like the whole text, like summarized everything I like completely disagree with. But to actually summarize, he's like describing lateral people. And it's like, done so very weirdly because he like, it's kind of like an ask a rhetorical questions and then say, yeah, no, it's not that. It's really hard to, analyze. Because the thing is, he is like an impressionist or pure instinct, like in between those two. So what he does is like, okay, I'm not lateral. I can only like make assumptions over them. So I write like that. And it makes it really hard to read because it makes it insufferable to read. Sorry to say that, but it really does. Okay.
I think this might be the first real usage of "your thoughts resemble a cloud" as a phrase.
Did
like
you?
Historically?
I think you?
No, it was in the
say that
original
earlier
video.
in the video.
Yeah, it was in
I don't think
It was in the original video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty
it
sure
was.
about
Okay, I don't remember that. Okay.
If it wasn't, then this would be it.
Oh no, I think that's in Lateralize.
Yeah, and I think Lateralize came out after.
Yeah.
Lateralize came out after the Dick Show interview that I brought to your attention, which would be the other first example of thoughts resemble a cloud.
Right.
Oh, that was also mentioned in that podcast. I don't remember that. I only remember like the button from the previous thing. That was a bit funny. Okay.
So just like regular history, the actual timeline, even though it's on the internet and perfectly constructed, is still a little bit hazy because we have done work.
Because it's only done in a matter of few days, and we just don't remember it really well. We should have started collecting it, more in the beginning.
This is already way more information than anyone needs, so be happy with what you're getting.
This is correct. Actually, this is more than we actually remember there was.
Yeah. Okay, so laterality here, making trans-topic connections. Kind of the idea of rhizomatic thinking. Like everything is connected in some way. There are kind of not metaphorical, appearance similarities between completely different things. They are somehow similar in their structure, so can be used to understand each other.
You make disparate connections between things.
Right, yeah. And it's kind of a question of detail versus obtuseness, or excessive detail leading to obtuseness in lateral thinking.
I've heard some guy I know be like, well, if a type can change over time, like if you can make yourself more linear or more lateral by a directed practice, then that means that it's not real because it's mutable. And I have to be like,
what?
How is making something a permanent, unchangeable thing make it more real than if it is, real, but also changes? That doesn't make it more or less real whatsoever.
Also, you'd have to pretend that any concept at all is permanent.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so wrap up. I have I can make a bullet round because I have everything written up. Do you want to do it? Just a bullet rundown. So the first one is a quote, but not directly cited, but just reformulated because the original is too long. Possibility of the problem: having so many problems to work on inside the head that they won't end one. And I wrote problem solving paralysis. What is this? This is ridiculous. It's just having just too many problems.
If I can jump in on that problem solving paralysis thing, it feels like problem solving paralysis is an inability to handle lateral thought, which makes perfect sense that
I can't handle this. There's too much.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense as a description that a pure instinct would give.
Oh yeah,
for what lateral thought
this
is like.
Exactly what I meant. By the way, it's a good example. I missed that completely.
Yeah,
good argument. Also the second one. This is because it can feel like a lateral thinker's ideas spill out of the mouth. Okay, and I responded either not describing laterality by itself, or the statement is already mixed with the other axis and the other whatever things that get integrated.
Yeah.
Because
that sounds like just a personality trait, though.
Yeah,
you can't stop yourself from saying anything. That has nothing to do with
this. Is not descriptive of laterality. This is no. Also, the next ones, communicate in jumbled or indirect manners, not communicating directly and with focus. Yeah, dude, you can't just say that. That's mean. This is rude to say, and the points are same as above. It's not describing. It's not descriptive. Doesn't sound like a HC who is lots of time thinking about the problem. Because if for example I have a lot of time spent into a problem, I just don't quill and sprout out with my ideas. I have ordered it. Okay, I can order stuff.
Yeah, you could.
I just don't quill out
and spout everything that you're thinking constantly, or you could just take a bit of time to think on it.
A lot of what?
Yeah. a lot of this feels like a description of autism, which is kind of fair because according to Digi, top types are way more autistic.
Yeah, I mean, the corner types are more.
Yeah. Even that is more of a trend. It's not necessary.
Yeah, it's absolutely such a trend, not like a description. Okay. They're more likely.
In a way, I want to comment on that idea that you just brought up right there. You could probably draw the autism levels chart on a diagonal from pure instinct to the calculator and describe what Digi was trying to say.
Okay. They're more likely. They're more likely to be soft with minute details that can seem unimportant to less literal thinkers. That's actually the only kind of true part I actually want to focus on. Not focus on, but actually to say, okay, this is true. You can say that, and it's actually what I wrote. It can actually be a question in Neurotest to actually are you obsessed with minute details that may be unimportant to less literal thinkers, or just with others? Yeah, compared to other people, because that's actually quite good question. I think, and I think we actually have it integrated already. Any comments?
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
I have to collect it myself and try to explain this like very specific thing. It's like, oh wait, why does this matter actually? I forgot.
Yeah, actually, right. Exactly not. But I think anyone can do it. That's not just laterality. More likely to be obsessed. Yeah, good. You saved yourself. Interested in how very different things connect to one another. So I have like mathematics much, because mathematics is just about connecting a lot of things together and creating new things.
What if we take this idea from this utterly unrelated part of mathematics and I'll try to apply it here? Yeah. Let's see what falls out of that.
Correct. There's sometimes a lot of what happens in high level math, actually. So any other things, because this last one, have a greater sense of grand narratives and bigger ideas. I can't believe he actually wrote that, because I'm not a megalomaniac and a lot of lads aren't too. But actually there's a stereotype for by the way, stereotype for analysts being like megalomaniac. I can say that. There's a stereotype. I mean, for fascinators too, but analysts and fascinators, they have megalomaniac.
See, it's funny that you say that, because I see the greater sense of grand narratives and bigger ideas, and I just took that as true without blinking, because like the human calculator that like lives with me is like commonly introduced as the Archon, and like it has a very like grand sense of self.
Okay, that's
and so did I. I used to as well.
Okay, you can say that totally does not apply to me. Okay, you will notice that in the future episodes, maybe that I'm completely not that, and I actually despise people who are like that. Sorry.
I just wanted to say, because like my interpersonal level like reference point for the top left is like, it lines up perfectly, so I didn't think to question it.
Okay.
But I'm working with 2 data points as opposed to 1 data point, so like what I'm saying is not any more necessarily true than what you're saying.
Okay. We don't know. Exactly. Also, it's ridiculous to actually talk about like n equals to like a data set. just want to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't actually think that greater sense of grand narratives and bigger ideas, I don't think that's necessarily the non plus ultra. That doesn't make you a better person. Like, I guess you could have an interpretation of bigger ideas that is just better ideas, but don't think that's true. It's just more... What?
Yeah, I think I would associate grand narratives and bigger ideas with like a bad thing. Am I alone with this?
Like making sweeping generalizations or something? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, that's not what I was getting out of it.
No.
For me, this is more, highlights are more the idea guys. They're better at coming up with strange shit and then to actually, refine it and make it workable, you would need the linear people to then figure out the details.
Yeah, to make it straight.
For me, the high lats would more be the people who come up with the idea for a patent, and then the linear people are the ones who make it work.
That's it. Who they're the factory workers. That's why they call the middle managers the bookkeepers.
There's like my workflow, I think, in craft is a really good example of like what happens when you have somebody who has no accountability, who's just being lateral in a workshop. Because like my working space is full of half-finished projects from a long time ago.
I've got a lot of those.
Occasionally, yeah. So I'm currently halfway through building a table that I have been working on for like 2 months now, because I'll stop and be like, hey, you know what would make this go, like, you know what I need to do the next thing in making this? I need a shoulder plane. Let me build one from scratch.
Oh no. Oh dude, that would hurt me so much. I couldn't like live in that environment like at all.
Well, it's all like it's all quarantined into one little corner of the dining room.
Yeah, that's kind of how my writing process also works. Because recently, my phone fucking died.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And on there were fucking 200 individual notes, like in a note app, which were like half-written stories, ideas for stories, half-written fan fiction, all that shit. And I would oftentimes just, I want to write this and this and this, and then just pick characters by looking at old notes that I had already forgotten, because as I said, writing is thinking while sitting at a keyboard.
Yeah.
So I don't have to keep it in my mind. So it's just every idea I've ever had scattered across those notes, across shit tons of shit I have on my computer else places, in physical notebooks. It's just shit everywhere, and so little of it is finished.
Oh, yeah. A point that I want to make, though, about Lateral, just so I'm not contradicting myself from my criticism of from earlier, is that, yes, my workshop is a complete mess, and I have a bunch of half-finished projects on it all the time, but it's a revolving door of half-finished projects. I actually do get stuff done because I can manage
I also
to navigate all of that.
I didn't want to make it sound
You're
that
just
way.
splitting the work.
Just got deleted, that's it.
It's just that at any moments, there are way more unfinished things than finished things.
Yeah. And it's easy for me to mentally navigate the tree of what I have to do in order to make the next thing, which is why I can do things that require really complicated joinery. Like tab goes into slot, but has slot cut into it that comes in from a different angle, and how all of those things fit together. That's easy for me.
Right.
Okay, do we want to continue or any?
Well, one thing real quick.
Oh yeah,
that thing you said about like getting up to like do something else. I do that a lot with like videos. Like it's hard for me to like watch all these videos that I'm, of people I'm subscribed to, because I'll just be in the middle of it and either something from the video or just some other random thought, I'll like pause it and just like get up and like pace around thinking about that for like half an hour. And then come back, it's like, oh yeah, I didn't finish this.
Yeah. Like I'm in the middle of a Vic and Hope video and be like, wait a minute, I know what I need to do right now. I need to see how does chording work as a support structure in 18th century stays, and then I go like YouTube that.
Okay.
Or they'll like mention something that's like, actually that's really interesting, and then I'll like explain that to them, the like phantom versions of them, like yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My last question is going to be for you, our human calculator. Does it feel like when you're focusing on an idea, does it feel like the idea is a nucleus and you're orbiting it like an electron?
So I actually never thought about that, because the thing is, when I'm actually working on the problem, it like completely lingers into my mind. For example, if I just take a math Olympiad problem, like a quite hard math problem. It's not real math problem. It's not real math problem, but just a form of a math problem, then until I've solved it, it would always linger in my mind. And the more recent it is, the more intrusive it is to actually think about it. And it's kind of good and kind of bad, because that means I actually get to get things done, like finish like one thing like completely through to actually solve it, and then just have it solved and just being finished. The thing is, why
I'm say like hinders you if it's just in your mind.
Yeah, it does hinder me. Like it does like really hinder me, because I just can't think about other stuff or get other things done. And but the thing is, that's why I couldn't like be in your workspace, because that would like completely wreck my mind.
Gotcha.
And I'd rather have mine where I almost finished. I haven't started anything yet. But if there's a project, I want to go through it. But there's another thing with projects, because unlike math problems, projects sometimes don't have definitive ends, though they should have.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm doing a project, it's most oftentimes being something like completely new. And if something's really new, like a new branch of mathematics, whatever, then you don't know anything about it and just try to find information of it. And while you're searching information, you like realize, wow, this is like completely different from what I thought. I'm already glad that I just have all this new information. I don't want to do anything with it right now. I want to process it.
Gotcha. I feel a lot like that, especially when I have a new project idea. Like my workspace is like if you took all of the project ideas in my head and threw them on a table. So I can see how that would be like a mess to sort through. But when I have an idea, like I'm currently thinking right now about a design for a vise that is operated by levers instead of by screws. And I'm doing that like I have been doing for the past like couple weeks, because I can't build it until I finish all the other things that I have to build. But until I build it, it's just going to stay colonizing my brain. And so it's inescapable. Everything makes me think about it, because it's just like always hovering there, just slightly out of reach. And like, oh, hey, you remember me? We're going to work on me, right?
Yeah.
Me next? No. Okay. Well, you're just going to think about it anyway.
Yeah. So yeah. By to the other thoughts, I'm the number one thought.
Yeah, but the difference is that always having that in my head means that anytime I have like a moment to myself, I'm like, so do I want like a offset on this part? Like, what can I use for hinges? That kind of stuff. It just comes up when I have a moment to myself. It's kind of like what I do instead of checking my phone, almost. Right now, and that's because of how recent the idea is, and I haven't made enough conclusions about it to really satisfy it. It feels like it's always there, ready to be picked up, but I can put it back down again in order to talk to you about neurotyping. But that doesn't mean that it's out of my line of sight, you know? And that, I feel like, is a more apt description of laterality, is like, I've always got this on hand, and I can always pick it back up again, and always put it back down again.
Yeah, I think that we can agree on that. That's actually quite common thing we have in common, I think, coming from this conversation. Okay, does that like conclude this part? The read me part?
Probably keep moving.
Anyone have more notes?
Yeah, I don't have. I have like mine bulleted through.
Yeah. Okay. My next one is my notes for the next post are improvise.
Yeah, first explain what the next one is.
The next post is ultra simplified version of the chart, which just has the axes described each in two ways by direction, which is kind of weird. And also ultra simplified in this case just means not describing at least what Digi was thinking.
Correct.
Which is fine. As I said, I'm all for people making their own theories, but in this one, impressionism is emotion while lexicality is logic.
Yeah, I can't believe they actually like
which is totally not true.
They actually made a small effort into it, and then actually to just have this idea about logic and logic and emotion dichotomy attached to them. It's like you could, if you would put more effort into like actually like simplifying it like good, instead of like having a design for it. And like making the errors, maybe.
I hate that this is... Cat, stop it. I hate that this is here portrayed as a dichotomy or as an axis. Because, dear listener, if you have never considered this, what is logic? What is logic acting upon? You have inputs and you want to derive like a sensible output from that. And the only inputs you have is your perception, is your world, your intrinsic needs and desires, its emotions. Logic is something you apply onto emotions. It's not a distinct thing.
Yeah. And like looking at this makes me realize just how much I've internalized the chart, because when I was trying to think, well, like, let's work through this idea. All right. So logic is like if I were to describe logic, it would be, well, no, I can't make it just taking stuff and making it concrete and working through it that way, because the process can be done by like really granularly going through everything and ticking off a whole bunch of boxes and formulas and stuff. Or it's not any less logical to have these ideas bouncing off of each other in a more vibe-ish way, like rectifying the music in my soul to make sense of what somebody else is saying is still logic happening. It's just non-lexified logic, you know? And then I just realized that I rehashed the chart from scratch in order to explain why this person is wrong.
Like you should.
They're not wrong, they just made a different system.
Mm-hmm. Also, this impression thinking is very abstract. What do you mean by abstract? This word abstract...
It can be used in two different ways, we found. Like
a lot of ways, not even two.
Like on the Discord, we were using abstract as like, oh, the complicated impressionistic thoughts. But then somebody was like, they were using abstract as in like an abstracted thing, like, the idea of an apple.
It is so situational and so reliant on what else you mean that it is functionally useless in this entire field.
Exactly.
Yeah, like numbers are abstract.
Yes.
Math is abstract. Does that mean human calculators are like chart loopers and like new types? We get to chart looping later. It's so stupid.
Okay.
Never mind.
Who here thinks that chart looping is real? Oh no, let's do this. Let's do that later.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. Chart looping has its own post, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's still stupid.
What else did I have here?
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh god, the next.
Oh yeah.
It was
this one. This is like the
yes. That's the abbreviations post.
Yeah, that's the abbreviations.
That's the abolish names post.
It's Moncap's attempt to like redo the Bookkeeper post, but like in a human calculator form. But like,
oh yeah, genau, exactly.
It's not great.
It's not about Bookkeepers. It's about human calculators.
Version of that. Like if we skip to the alternative names presented, there's like there's the abbreviation just with the letters, which is like okay, and then there's mathematician, which is just like a job.
It requires you to know the essential spirit of a mathematician in order to make sense of it.
And then system analyst, which is like
everything you exist in is a system, and to interact with it, you analyze it. Literally everyone analyzes a system. That's what fucking
plus that would not be a useful name next to the analyst. So it's like, analyst or system analyst.
Or the technician right below it.
This is not useful. Like human calculator gets the idea across.
Enigmatist,
like a lot better. So
and the comments suggest enigmatist as an alternative name, and holy cow, is that ever like prescient as fuck?
Yes, that's the opposite end.
That's a human calculator. Maybe me. I think I have to say like a lot of things about this, right?
Wait, yes, I unironically believe that enigmatist is a better name than Neurotype. Do it.
Okay, I won't memorize that. I won't memorize that. Okay.
Well, I also want to read a paragraph from this.
Oh yeah, do.
And I 100% that somewhere in there he mixes up light and L, and also that even if it was the right way around, he forgot to make a point in this. Okay.
Light and air, by the way, from Death Note.
Yeah, I argue that the patron saint that most resembles human calculator is Light Yagami, not L. Loleed. Light's success is in taking the rules of life, or of the game, he and L are playing and calculating the strategy for the best outcome. Light, on the other hand, questions whether the rules apply in the first place. Throughout Death Note, Light assumes the two of them are playing a game of who can kill the other fastest. L is not playing the same game, though. He could have killed Light at any moment if he willed. He would rather make his own goals, proving Light guilty without any doubt
Okay,
remaining.
no, I never
That's
understood
totally
why
backwards.
you thought they were changed, but yeah, it's right. I think you changed it up. You mixed it up.
L is not playing the game, though.
He could have killed
At that
Light.
point, L is more lateral. L is escaping the rigid system. Wait, what?
Okay. So the I never watched Death Note. I can't comment on
Light.
it.
I meant Light. If it was L, then this point would be made.
Well,
This is
anyways, so
ridiculous.
part 2 and part 3 is not very interesting. It's just alternative names. But the second part, mathematics and arithmetics. Okay, so I can summarize this. So human calculator is inherently a bad label for this new neurotype, because it both requires like laterality and lexicality. It's only the laterality part that matters, because what calculators do, as in the name implied, they just do arithmetics and like extremely fast. I mean, obviously we know what calculators are like. They're the shit. Okay, they're the one of the best tools, especially when using like graphics or whatever. They're like super awesome. And he says, yeah, okay, if somebody is then a human calculator, that means he's just doing a lot of arithmetic extremely fast. And he objects that lateral thinkers are not calculators. They are just because human calculators are more like mathematicians who do a lot of high level mathematics, and calculators just do the linear and most routine work they can ever do. So that's a way kind of suggests that it should be like swapped with Bookkeeper, or like I think it's swapped with Bookkeeper. Not having Bookkeeper, but mathematician, there's AC label, but not having actually human calculator. Well, anyways, I think you got the idea that okay, this makes kind of sense. However, I I forgot. What does it actually mean to actually do a lot of arithmetic in the sense of in sense of communication? It just means being linear, 100% linear. This is actually almost what it means, because arithmetic is just routine. There's nothing like really of like high level into it. It's just routine work. You just work it off. And yeah, this is a definition which is like really weird, because if you think through it, we actually come to the conclusion that okay, human calculator is not a good label for actually like this neurotyping, this neurotype, because high lateral people aren't like calculators. They're more like mathematicians, and therefore mathematicians is the correct label. However, it's very trivial to think about it, but we can just, the thing is, we created the label human calculator.
Yeah,
and
like
therefore we
humans
can
are
just
not
define,
machine,
Yeah.
like in that way to begin with.
we just
I mean,
define ourselves as human calculators, okay? We just say, okay, you take the human calculator, but you like ignore the calculator part and focus more on human, because it implies that kind of, yeah, okay, we are half robotic, we are like half human, okay, it's funny. And the calculator being, okay,
When
we are
you
like,
use a calculator, it seems like it does a lot at once. Like a lot of different things at once. You're like putting multiple things into it, and it does the calculation for you. Like the
Okay,
impression that gives off is like that you're
okay, that's
pulling a
your
lot of
opinion, that's not my opinion. That's not
I'm
my
sympathetic to the
feeling of it.
idea that people who are that type should think that the label is appropriate and they should want to be the thing that they are, kind of.
Yeah.
Like,
Um.
but all of his suggestions are terrible.
Oh yeah, the suggestions are terrible. I can say that. That's.
But someone in the comments is the most correct person who have ever lived.
Which one? I don't. You have to.
Shouts out to Hound Dog for making.
Oh yeah, Hound Dog. Yes. Yeah.
For making the perfect suggestion that every type should have as many names as needed. Every type should have at least 16 different names so that every other type and the type itself can most accurately understand what that type is from their specific position. I would go farther. I would go like, there should be as many names as you want for anything, because there will always be a new facet, a new way of explaining it, and everyone will be a kind of different nuanced take on what that type is. So just invent many more names that could then be used interchangeably, and everyone can pick whichever they like.
I can say this is a good take, a really good
More
take.
names.
More names, more. Okay, no, not more labels, but
hey.
more descriptive. And this.
And if Monk wants to use one of his bad names, he can.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
I
fine.
missed this down here. Somebody proposed the name Theorist for human calculators, which I kind of like.
Why? Why would you ever
Because-
take theorist as?
I mean, I like it better than the calculator part of human calculator. Because, like he did actually convince me that calculator is a bad thing to call people because of how linear it is. And that's the opposite of what we're trying to convey. I want the things that I say to, like, my struggle of self-mastery is trying to make the things that I say match the impressions I'm trying to give, you know? So, like, that a less impressionistic person would still understand anyway. But I primarily want it to be evocative. And while human calculator is evocative, human computer is just as evocative, but more correct.
Yeah, exactly. But I want to interject one small thing. The thing is, for a lot of people, calculator and computer are like essentially like for them the same thing.
Yeah, I think
Kinda.
even in the original video, like, Digi at one point said living computer.
Yeah, living
Yeah,
computer.
she changed the name between recording the video and making the chart.
And to be like really honest, I have zero care. I just don't care if it's calculator or computer or what. If people know what it, because it's by the way also the same initials, and I have no objections whatsoever to human calculator. It's completely 100% fine. I would never like make someone fun if they actually called ourselves just calculators, because okay, do that. I don't care if you get it. Then if you get actually what we actually want to say, what we are, then you can label us as whatever you want us to.
That's not very lexical of you.
Yeah, that. But yeah, I mean, maybe I have just a different system in which it is right. Like Ouro's good take, or actually good what's it called? Hound dogs.
Like, I think theorist is fine, but I would then almost switch theorist with analyst, because as we talked about earlier.
Oh yeah, yeah,
like,
exactly.
Lexicality is kind of this breaking down process of things into symbols. And that would be more the analyst, while the theorist would be someone who takes more a bit of this impressionistic lens and would abstract systems from that.
Mm-hmm. We have to be very careful to not suddenly like slide onto TC or AM, like technician or analyst, because it's like very similar names.
That's just a theory, a tism theory.
Yeah,
Thanks for
very
watching.
prone to autism. Also, this is not the end. We have 3 posts more, but I haven't written down anything for the last 2. So
I've got notes.
I think we're kind of done here. It's it's just one rant actually from the human calculators.
I gotta tell you, for this post that we just finished up, I didn't actually read the whole thing. I just skimmed it.
Yeah.
I
It's
think I
okay.
read it once, but I did not reread it.
I read it.
I read all of these posts and all of their comments, and boy, no longer sure this podcast was a good idea.
We honor your sacrifice. I'm having a great time. I think this is valuable stuff.
Yeah.
I'm suffering for you people.
Yes, please continue to suffer for all the future episodes.
Yes,
I insist
exactly.
that
We
you
are
be
doing
on every
this
episode.
so you will never have to open this Reddit in your life.
Yeah, you don't have to.
you.
It's not great. It's not great for information picking. You just listen to the podcast. Maybe we even do an different version of ourselves, like in one text file or something, like make a book of it. I don't know, but you don't have to go through Reddit. Please, for your sake of your sanity, just please. Only very high caution.
All
There
right,
will
let's talk
still
about the
be
poll.
a list of all the discussed posts of every episode in the description.
Hey.
We already sorted out all the ones that don't contribute anything to theory crafting.
Right.
And by the end of this, we will make a collection of all the relevant posts that we think contributed most new interesting ideas that were then picked up and reconsidered, reshaped by other people, like the things that actually left an impact.
So I feel
you're
like-
welcome.
I feel like to kick off the next post, I have to do a Vic and Hope. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the Vic and Hope thing. I'm going to
Cracking a can directly into the
Nice.
microphone. That's right.
Yeah, maybe I'll just be significantly more drunk for future episodes.
No, I won't be drunk because no.
I mean, there's definitely going to be a smoothing out period because, like, not everybody is very comfortable on the mic. Not everybody's done this for hundreds of hours. Not everybody has, and we also have like early kinks to work out. Like, we're getting a lot of our base ideas down, and so that we can just cruise on a lot of these. Like, several of these posts went by in like minutes.
Right, and we should also make sure that we have the note-taking in a shorter period and then immediately do the recording, because I feel like there's a lot of, I have to relook up what this post even says.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe another thing to help that would be shorter episode with less posts per thing, so you can do the note-taking more quickly and comment on it more immediately.
Okay.
All right, so
go on to the next one.
The poll chart.
Yeah.
We can immediately see here that human calculators have typed themselves correctly, and the bottom strip, for the most part, have typed themselves correctly. Pure instinct is wishful thinking, and then all of the other numbers that are over 20 are all like, haha, I don't actually understand how the system works, but I'm just going to put myself here because I think that this is what I should be.
Okay, so actually in my notes,
it's wishful thinking.
I've made a comparison from the Discord and this particular poll, and I can say it's the results are like atrocious. So the biggest differences are like an analyst, and pure instinct. Anything else? No, and technicians for some reason. Yeah, technicians, analysts, and pure instincts. This is the biggest outliers, and I have actually no idea why, because the demographics shouldn't be that different. And so first one, pure instinct. It's the most obvious one. In the Discord, we only have two pure instincts. One is readme because he double typed as impressionist and pure instinct, and the other one I have no idea. I have to look that up. I forgot. Hold on, wait, I'm looking it up.
In that interval, I will showcase another idiot in the comments.
Oh yeah, do that.
Bottom right is for warriors and athletes, spontaneous young adventurers. Doesn't sound like anime-loving Redditors. I'm being unfair, but... and so on.
Yeah.
And I hate this guy viscerally. And I feel like I'm saying viscerally too often in this episode. Fuck it.
No, don't worry.
visceral
Yeah,
mood, dude.
he's not being unfair. He's just being stupid. Because first of all, like, look at other people digityped as pure instinct. His description of it is completely off. Like, Lethal Aurora Mage is pure instinct. Like,
Lethal Aurora Mage and Donald Trump, two of my favorite
warriors,
sports-loving warriors.
Spontaneous young adventurers. Yeah, bullshit. This is again, what does the word pure instinct sound like, rather than considering what it just means from the Axis. And also, this is a fucking poll. People see pure instinct, which is a very fucking funny term, and picking it, being like, yeah, I'm completely linear, and I don't care about words, so just pick that obviously people would do that. Obviously that's funny. Obviously that's why there's this huge anomaly of 53 people picking pure instinct. How could you possibly assume that people are actually mistyping themselves on accident?
Okay.
This is a funny thing to pick in this poll.
By the way, the initials for pure instinct is PI, and yes, we have a lot of PP jokes.
A lot of PP.
It's actually incredible. Yeah, we have a lot of jokes with the initials, but yeah. Also Rex and Woman. I like the Rex and Whitney. I just want to, also, I had like a small suspicion about the analysts, like being 61 as in the poll, and actually only 24. I think that's not accurate, but 24. It's the 24. This is kind of weird, right? Why are there so many analysts in there? And I suspect it's because of Digi.
People relate to Digi and are probably likely to then say, oh yeah, I have a lot of the same tendencies as this person I've followed for a long time.
Well,
so I'm probably in the same
want
categories.
To be like Diginay, so I'm going to make myself an analyst.
Also, the only thing I just can't explain is technician. Why there are 25 in the poll and we only have 3 people. I have no idea. That's just weird.
Probably people found out later that Nate Bestman is a technician and they didn't want to be that anymore.
Oh, we have 5, by the way. We have 5 now. 5 technicians. Because Kurenai and yeah.
All right. So if we were to do this for real, like just go out into the world and take a poll of randos off the street, what I would want to do is I would want to keep going until every single type has at least 50 people.
Oh wow! Then, dude, for the
I don't
50
think you
human
would find 50
calculators,
types outside
50 human calculators, I would throw a party with them. Dude, you're never going to find 50 human calculators on the street.
Okay,
dude.
so what we got to do is we have to like pool our funds and buy a college, and then force everybody in that college.
Even in a college,
as part
dude,
of their admissions
50?
to neurotype themselves.
Okay, you do. Okay. Okay. So that was, I think, the last one that's really big for me. The last ones I have like no idea what they're talking about.
Okay.
Okay, yes, this is the Neurotype to MBTI type. And when you go through it, there is, for most of them, there is no correlation at all. But there are some exceptions. Most importantly, ENFP leans Impressionist for some reason. I don't know enough about MBTI to take a lot of things from that, but ENFP leans Impressionist. ENFJ is very, very Bookkeeper, also for some reason. And there is a heavy correlation between high laterality and being an intuitive type. All the other types are completely randomly scattered across the neurotyping chart.
Well, my other thing about this chart is that there's just not enough points on this graph to draw a trend line. You know, most of these charts are too sparse.
Yeah, but there obviously wouldn't be a trend line. That'd be more of a heat map, right?
I mean, yeah, but like, there's no clustering. Is what, like, you can't get anything useful out of it. It looks all random.
I mean, if you look at the one for INTP, I'd say there's very obviously clustering in the top.
Yeah, that one's all the way towards the top. But like let me scroll down. ENTJ, there's just not enough points, period.
So yeah, I can see why there would be a relation between intuitive, even from the little I know about MBTI, intuitive thinking and laterality, because it also relates to this kind of cloud-like thing a bit. It's less immediate analysis of things that exist in the real world. It's also more of the aloofness with the tetheredness from before. So N and laterality, I can see how those would kind of correlate, which they do according to these
although
charts.
You could make an argument for like that being Impressionism too.
You could, but we're not seeing that in the charts.
I'm just infinitely frustrated by MBTI. Like, I say this as a religious person. MBTI takes the thing that I hate about religion and makes it worse.
Yeah, no, Fuck MBTI. Digi was right about everything.
MBTI needs to MBT die.
Yes.
All right. The next chart. Fuck that.
Yeah, this is the last one, right? The last one.
There's two more, I think. Oh yeah, this is the time cake
Wait,
one.
didn't you?
Biological substrate of neurotyping axes.
Oh yeah, time cake.
Oh no, you're beginning.
That's a guy we're gonna see more of.
Yeah, in the future. That's actually ridiculous. This post.
Oh, is Time Cake a real boy?
He's on the server.
You
can talk with him.
He is, yeah. Time Cake is a very cool guy. This was one of his less cool posts.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But it's also
the
already
interesting thing
pretty
from
cool.
here was the connectivity. Is that something I was interested in?
Yeah, the network charts.
It took me a little bit to make it through those charts.
Yeah, and I think that these networks with their properties of resiliency or efficiency for communication transfer work very well with Digi's diatribe on autism and neuron length, like neuron connection length. So how far different things have to travel, which I'm not sure is scientifically backed up, but it conveys the same concept. Right.
Well, here feels like a really good idea. Here feels like a really good place to bring up the fact that neurotyping is terribly named. Like, there's nothing neurological about this that we didn't start with a knowledge of neurology and then make the idea. So this is the worst possible name, but like it gets the point across.
It's catchy.
Yeah, it's just catchy. Anyway, I cut off a point that you were making at the end there.
Oh, right. So the random network that Timecake associates with laterality would also be the very short connection between ideas, very low barrier for crossing between topics, very low travel time. So it works very well with that idea of A, autism according to DigiBro, and B, laterality according to Timecake, which are also linked according to Digina herself, so works out well. These networks are kind of a nice visualization, I think. I've seen a lot of people look at those and being like, yeah, that's...
If I might be permitted to flex a minute. So the random network being high efficiency, when you look at like... I saw this discussion of how having a thought is the process of neurons forming a series of simplicial complexes and then collapsing them. And a random network actually does way, way worse at making high-degree simplicial complexes than actually having a thought. And so what is being dubbed the random network here might be a good example of something that's highly integrated. An actual random network isn't that highly integrated compared to the process of having a thought. And so, like, it's probably a bad label for this kind of thing.
Right, but it's not comparing the random network to the process of having a thought, which would be just higher connectivity in general. It's comparing it to the regular network, which would just be, okay, all those points in a chain, meaning if we want to one topic to a completely opposed topic, we would have to travel every single other topic in the process, rather than having random connections scattered in between to make that travel more efficacious.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that this is a severe simplification. And
yes, of course. Okay, for anyone who didn't catch it, points connected by lines, 3 of them in shapes, are not a good representation of thinking.
Yeah, it's not a good representation of a brain. A brain has more than 6 neurons in it. I don't want people who are, I guess, less literate on these subjects than we are to take it as being more literal than it is. This is a preshy description of something. It just is packaged as a Lexi description. Can anybody actually see the dog picture on the right if you scroll down?
Yes.
Where?
There's a spotty one and a blotchy one. Can anybody actually see the dog in the blotchy picture?
Yeah, can't you?
In the blotchy one, that one I didn't.
I think I saw a dog, but it was
I thought I saw a completely different dog. It's like
I also saw a completely different drawing. I didn't expect it to be at this.
I thought it was like a close up of
this
a dog's
position.
face, but then later, like they pointed out, it's a terrier. It's
same.
like, oh yeah, it's that. I think I thought it might be, but it seemed too loose. But then it turns out it was a terrier. It's like, oh okay.
I mean, it's obviously a different picture.
What?
It's no. I mean, they're not the same picture of a dog rendered. In different
I know.
Ways. But like,
can you actually not see it?
I can instantly see the one on the left.
Same.
And I had this weird moment of I look at the one on the right, and I'm like, oh, this is also of a dog, and I'm like, but where's the dog?
But where's the dog?
I don't see the dog in this other picture that I understand to be of a dog. Like I get
there's the curvy butt in the top left, and then the face facing front.
No.
Can you honestly not see the dog in this?
It's supposed to be a terrier.
I really want you to put like an MS Paint drawing of the dog over this picture because I do not see the dog.
Okay, I will after we're done here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll leave this open.
This is mystifying.
I'm so confused.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. You don't want to make this more longer than it should be.
They are equally obviously pictures of dogs.
Okay, go on.
I think the weirdest part, though, is that I looked at the picture and I was like, oh, this is also of a dog, but I can't see the dog.
So stupid.
Like, why do I know that? Why do I know that there's a dog here, but I can't see it?
Okay. And there's also another nice chart, which goes from network variation over a lot of weird concepts to the concept of linearity, laterality, lexicality, and impressionism. And I don't understand most of this. Yeah, like low interconnectivity, high interconnectivity, obviously harkening back to the networks with the connection structure. Linearity, laterality is pretty obvious. But then for lexicality and impressionism, you have things like connection synchronicity, asynchronous firing, and
that had something to do with like when you're solving a problem, like when looking at the picture of the dog, you're like trying to find it. That's the asynchronous firing. Like you're trying to.
Yeah, they do explain it in the paper, and I think this is one of the more. This is the only one so far where I would say don't just look at the visuals on screen, actually read the thing, because this one is interesting. Right.
Yeah, Timecake is great. All his posts are incredible. Definitely worth reading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what I really like is for arriving at impressionism, the problem solving by focus on Gestalt. And the Gestalt concept linked to impressionism is a very cool idea that I think is very useful for anyone who knows what Gestalt is.
Who actually knows German?
No, Gestalt is also just a philosophy term that is used in English text.
Yeah, German people know this.
Yeah, exactly. I can say Gestalt in German, but
I can say it too.
Let's just say Gestalt.
I think the science fiction way that I use the word Gestalt is only loosely connected to what it actually means, and I've now forgotten what it actually means.
Yeah, people love that word. Also, Nier Automata calls things Gestalt. There's Project Gestalt, which is... No, I'm not going to go into Nier Automata. It's a good game.
It's a hive mind, basically, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're getting at?
Yeah.
Okay. The way that Ben talks has really infected the way that I talk, but I'm not unhappy. Okay. Last one.
We have finished everybody's notes, right? Yeah, on the last one.
I think
so.
Yeah,
okay.
Oh, wait, no. Urcoy, did you
say anything?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was saying about the asynchronous firing. It goes from like you're throwing random stuff around, and then once you've found it, you get the synchronous firing. It like locks in, and then you focus. But yeah, that's it.
Okay. Is lateral thinking multitasking or more? Like, I feel like we pretty well hashed out during this episode what we think laterality and linearity is for the most part. But the theme of this episode's posts is that nobody understands the vertical axis.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like that's only going to get worse as time goes on.
This one is a good one to just read through all the comments here.
Okay, I didn't actually have actually a look at this, but going from the lateral post from README earlier, I think this is almost the same thing, right?
It's pretty similar.
It's very similar, right?
It's again the "that's a bad at talking" take by Auroris in the description.
Yeah.
And like that immediately falls apart for me because my patron saint of what a fascinator is ContraPoints.
Yeah, ContraPoints is a good example.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. This is the very last one that I read, and it was also the very last one in my notes review this morning, so I'm kind of drawing a blank on this one.
Yeah, someone. Oh yeah, Owo, Uwu, as the two faces. You know what I mean. Capital O, W, capital O, 3 underscores, capital U, W, U, capital U, W, capital U. Just explains again that nobody actually has multiple trains of thoughts. Nobody can multitask. You can just switch between tasks, which is inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what it means. Which, yeah, we already discussed.
Yeah, we already discussed it, I think. Actually, it was in the linear post, not in the lateral post more. Remember this.
That's what I mean. Like, a lot of things will be rehashed through this, so as we go on with episodes, we will just cut things that don't bring anything new to the table.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is a good point for me to make a point that I didn't make earlier, which is that multi-object tracking is a lateral process. So, like, one of the tests that people do for visual acuity in the brain, not in the eyes, is how many objects can you track at once? And that says something about you that I don't remember the full context of. Whatever, just go with it. And I feel like that aspect of laterality is largely ignored by the community.
So it's like a human benchmark test thing. It's just like various tests we did for fun, but like one of them was it's sort of like the slowed down version of that monkey test where you have like all the numbers in order.
I think I did abysmally on that.
Something tulpas. That does it for my notes.
Yeah.
How's everybody feel about the first episode?
A little rough, but
could have been better. Could have been worse.
Exhaustingly thorough at 3 goddamn hours.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we were pretty strong at the start. I think we lost steam later on.
I have a hard time to actually
Yeah, you got talking more later on.
Yeah, in general, how we did in general, I have no idea how we did in general. This is really weird, because I think always we had like good points everywhere, and we like elaborated on the parts we actually like cared about. Thing is, we cared about a lot of things, and that's why we stretched it. We actually took like every single post, and like everybody talked about it and had different opinions about it, and oh wow, that's actually stretched
some
out
of those
everything.
early posts, especially, yeah.
So actually, for next time, I don't know if you actually want to do it like 3 hours next time.
No, we're gonna take less posts.
Yeah, less posts.
Now we have a benchmark for how long we will approximately take for
Yeah,
them.
maybe, dude, maybe even split this
As I
part
said,
in
so
two.
we will have fresher in our minds what they even said.
Yeah.
If we have less to go through to note, and then
My
make
target
like, I don't know.
for these is like 90 minutes. That's
Yeah,
what I want.
should
1.5
we
hours, I'd
split
say,
this in
pretty
2
good.
parts? Because it would like fit way more.
No, I think this pilot episode should be all of this, because as I said, we had a very different vibe in the start than towards the end. And I feel if that was 2 episodes, they'd be too different,
Okay.
having this evolution.
Okay.
And then later episodes shorter.
I
is
kind of
probably
agreed.
the
Yeah,
way to
we
go, I
kind of
think.
really changed for the like at the beginning we were like, yeah, we gonna do this, and then in the middle we were like completely into it. We didn't even like think about the time, right? It was like completely like I look at the clock and it was almost like 2 hours, and so wow, it's a bit too much, right, for a podcast.
Yeah. I like this as a first outing because it gives us a lot of useful feedback and stuff. Like I like the vibe we were on. Yeah. But we can talk about more about that when we're off of the episode. Cut this section, please.
Yes, we got 3 days into neurotyping.
Oh no!
But you see, there are less posts overall, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, this is a more active period, and also as I said, we won't rehash things, and a lot of things will be just the same shit again.
Yeah, over and over again. Because the thing is, like, Redditors are like watching this and like have all this information in their head. They like forget things and just re-spew it out again and again. And that's why we see a lot of repetition.
Yeah, also people just think that very interesting. They don't read what other people already have written because they think all their thoughts are completely original.
Even if they do, they still do it. Okay.
I feel like if I were to conjecture a new theory after looking at all of this stuff, maybe that's a segment for the end. Make a new theory. Did you learn anything? My thought is I feel like after talking to you guys about this at this level of depth that maybe it's that Impressionists tend to interact more with a big picture, and laterals are more likely to turn details into a big picture, so that you have like I feel like that fairly well describes the 4 extreme corners, you know, like present moment interacting with general vibe. Bottom left corner is like all details and an index moving through things. Top left corner is lots of details that you can turn into something useful, and then the top right corner is just like all useful vibe. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it sounds pretty good, actually. If I want to say something, I have to say that this was my first podcast ever, and also this is one of very rare times that I get my voice out of my like anywhere and just post it into the internet. So that's really weird for me, but I really got into it after the first 10 minutes.
At some point you clearly moved above beyond the initial uncomfortability, which is good.
So I'm very, very happy this happened. It really helped me a lot.
Yeah. Did anybody else learn anything?
I can't tell yet.
Yeah, I learned that I'm worse at speaking English when I'm not drinking.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's definitely just you thinking that. Like, if you're having trouble, it's not coming across as you having trouble.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's absolutely
I feel like I was a lot of the time in this. Okay, I have no idea.
No, you did.
It's probably
great.
just the lessened inhibition of being more okay with saying dumb shit when you're drinking.
Yeah, probably that's probably self-acceptance.
Yeah.
It is.
Maybe I'm just not around inebriates enough, but like I really don't pick up when you're drinking and when you're not. Like it doesn't come across to me. Oh, this guy's drinking right now.
Probably if it's not, then probably they're drinking. That's a good indicator.
All right.
That's
do you want to do another sync clap?
We have 12 seconds for 3 hours flat for my recording, at least.
You
sync
ready?
clap? Yeah. Count it.
3,
1.
Okay, you go first. Yours is the primary sync anyway. Go ahead.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.